What is up, YouTube? Welcome into the Texas Sports Unfiltered Pregame show as we are getting you all set for the Texas Longhorns and the Iowa State Cyclones. The final time Texas and Iowa State will meet as conference foes. This game kicks off at 7 o'clock tonight on Fox, and Bucky and I are with you until 6:30, getting you set for tonight's game. Hope everyone is having a fantastic weekend. We'll talk plenty of Texas, Iowa State. We'll go around the country giving you scoreboard updates throughout today's show as well. And if you are tuned in on YouTube, hit us up on the Clean Cause YouTube comment line. If you are listening on the free Texas Sports Unfiltered app, make sure you hit us up on the Coda text line, 512-222-9328. We'd love to hear y'all's thoughts about tonight's matchup, and we are live from the Covert Bee Cave Studios out here in beautiful Bee Cave, Texas, for the final time this year. Buck, this should be a fun one. The last road game of the regular season for the Longhorns, and they are taking on an Iowa State team that has given Texas fits in recent years. I think every Texas fan has heard the stats a million times this week. Iowa State has beaten Texas 3 of the last 4 years. They have also beaten Texas 3 of the last 4 times the Longhorns have played in Ames. So Texas trying to turn some things around tonight, maybe exercise some demons as well.
Well, the demons will be there because remember it'll be dark at the stadium. So the demons will be there. It'll be dark. It'll be scary. But for the Texas Longhorns, they've got bigger fish to fry, but they need this one. They need this small little fish tonight in order to move on to the next trophy, trout, and then they'll move on from there to maybe a Big 12 championship trophy. So there's a lot to play for. There's not much, to be said about the game. It is what it is. You just got to win the game. You have to move on. It's a big game for Texas, as the Iowa State fans and the players think it's a big game for them, but it's a huge game for Texas.
Yep.
It really is.
Yep. Texas obviously controls its own destiny to get to the Big 12 championship game. There are a couple of scenarios out there where Texas can clinch a spot in the Big 12 title game today. Now, the Longhorns need to win, and they need some help. They need Oklahoma State to lose to Houston. Well, Houston is beating Oklahoma State at halftime. Texas would also need Kansas State to lose to Kansas in the Sunflower Showdown tonight. I don't think any Texas fan wants to think about that, though.
Oh, no.
All Texas has to do is win these next 2 games, and it's guaranteed that they will be playing for a Big 12 championship. And, of course, Texas still has a shot to make the college football playoff. Now, speaking of needing help, and the Longhorns are going to need some of the teams ranked ahead of them in the CFP rankings to start losing. I think everybody's an Oregon State fan today.
Absolutely.
But all that is out the window if the Longhorns slip up in Ames. So there are plenty of reasons why Texas should be juiced up for this one.
Yeah, this is a game that I think Longhorn fans are a little worried about. They really are, not just because of the fact that Jonathan Brooks isn't playing, but this is one of those games that we all had talked about at the end of the season. Did we think this would be the one? No, I always thought the game that would scare me the most would be probably TCU and then on to Texas Tech. This one this one bunched between those two, I never thought would scare me as much, but there seems to be that it's not fun playing in Ames. It's not a fun place to play. Texas hasn't done well there lately, and it seems to mean an awful lot to their players. But I can't imagine being a Texas Longhorn football player or coach or fan that doesn't understand how important this game is.
Right. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any questioning of desire in this game tonight, right? Both teams have a lot to play for. Iowa State told you earlier this week how much they hate Texas.
Sure.
And once again, Texas trying to exercise some demons. You think of the game in 2021, the last time Texas played at Iowa State. Texas actually led that game 7-3 at halftime, but the Longhorns lost 30-7. I mean, they just got boat raced in the second half. That, of course, was Steve Sarkisian's first year, a year that ended with a losing record. And you had the infamous yet so famous Bo Davis rants on the team bus after that game that went viral. And you could argue that moment right there was kind of a culture-changing moment. I mean, obviously, year one was not good for Steve Sarkisian. A bunch of guys entered the transfer portal after the year, and they've been on a steady rise. Of course, 8 wins in year 2, and they're already at 9 wins through 10 games here in year 3. So Steve Sarkisian didn't shy away from it. We'll get you this audio a little bit later in our pregame show, but he basically said that this was the scene of the crime. what happened 2 years ago was one of the lowest points of Texas football. There have obviously been a lot of low points in the last 12 or 13 years, but just getting beaten down the way that this team did at Iowa State in the middle of a 5-7 season, that was pretty bad. Last time Texas was up here, they left with a very, very sour taste in their mouth. They've got a chance to obviously flip that today.
Yeah, they do. And they've got, and when it comes to player, they've got the best team that will be on that field tonight. They really, really do. But they'll have to play really smart football. They'll have to, I'm calling this turnover-free night. They've got to play turnover-free. They can't have momentum swings where Iowa State gets an opportunity to get on a roll, on a scoring roll. This isn't a team that scores a lot of points. They're not a great offensive team. They're really solid on defense, but offensively, Texas ought to be able to handle them with this defense and the defensive line.
Yeah, that's the hope.
That is the hope. It really is the hope. I mean, like I said, there's so much to play for, and you've got to when you're missing a valuable player like Jonathan Brooks right now, your defense has to come to play. They need to understand what their role is tonight in this game. This can't be where all of a sudden you let an Iowa State team get on a little mini roll in the second half, and then all of a sudden you can't catch up to them.
Right.
You just can't. You have to be able to stop them. The first down yardage will be important. How they handle the clock. And for Quinn Ewers coming back in game number 2 after his shoulder injury, this should be a game that I've got to believe that he will be ready to go. His arm will look a little bit stronger tonight than it did last week. Yeah. And he expected that. I mean, people had to expect that. I think we got the best out of Quinn Ewers last week. I mean, only to expect a guy coming off for 4 weeks and all of a sudden he gets out on the field. They're playing in the evening, kind of damp evening last week. And his arm got a little tired at the end. I think everybody could see his arm got a little bit tired. But that's to be expected. This week, still another night game.
Yeah.
A little bit cooler, probably a little bit cooler than it was last week. So you got to you got to watch out for him. But I expect for him to be flinging it around. I'm not of the thought of, you got to run the ball. Do whatever you can do best to win the football game. And if it's taking advantage of the 3-down linemen in the 3-3-5 look, take advantage of them, run. One of my deals today is run till you can't run.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Run till you can't run. And that means if you get in a series where you've had a little success running, and then all of a sudden you're getting 2 yards a clip, start throwing. I'm not going to be mad at anybody for throwing the ball down the field and getting first downs and moving the chains.
No.
I don't want to beat my head against the wall, and I don't want to see them do that because you don't have Jonathan Brooks. I'm not looking for a hero tonight.
Right.
I'm not really looking for a hero at running back. I'm looking for somebody that can play solid, do a solid job, and taking Jonathan's place for tonight. But I don't want 45 carries or 40 carries in the run game if you can throw it down the field and make hay that way.
I would love to have 40 to 45 carries, but
that means that you're having a real good night. But exactly. I don't think it's going to be that way.
No, I don't either. But yeah, I think in Sark's perfect world and in my perfect world, Texas is able to run it very effectively because Quinn Ewers is still not 100%.
No.
He's still recovering from that air conditioner joint injury. And you'd love to be able to just pound the rock on a cold night on the road. You just have those long sustained drives that end with points. I mean, that's how you take an opposing crowd out of the game just like that. But like you said, I mean, you don't have your best running back. You don't have a guy who's been your most consistent weapon on offense. You don't have a guy who's been one of the best offensive players in all of college football this year. So there's a scenario that presents itself to where Texas can't run the ball effectively, and they've got to go maybe not full prime Mike Leach, or they're throwing it like 50 or 60 times in this game tonight. But this might require 30, 35, maybe even 40 passing attempts for Quinn Ewers if the ground game isn't working.
And, BK, you've got weapons on the offense that need to be fed the ball. I mean, JT Sanders needs to make up some of that yardage that you won't get from Jonathan Brooks. We know what Jordan Whittington is, one of those guys. Well, he kind of comes and goes in games, could catch 10 one game and then had the best game of his life and then not even see the ball the following week, maybe one catch. This is one of those games that he and JT Sanders have to make up for what you don't get out of Brooks. You got to have that.
Right.
They've got to find ways to get those guys the ball. That yardage has to be made up somewhere because I don't think it's not going to be made up by the 2 young running backs. I don't believe, because I don't think Sark will be patient enough to let them make that up. I just don't think so. I think his tendency tonight will be let's throw and let's go.
Yeah, well, let's hear from Steve Sarkisian, Brock. We're going to start with cut 2. By the way, shout out to our man, young Brock, who's with us here at the Covert BK studios today. Cut number 2, here's Steve Sarkisian talking about his running back room this week without Jonathan Brooks.
I mean, I think nobody likes seeing their brother go down, so I do think there was a sense of hurt for him, knowing of what he'd put into, play the way he had been playing this season. But I also think they feel like, man, opportunity. These guys work really hard too. They've been training since January too. And so now making sure that they're putting themselves in the best position to be successful. We're fortunate in that, CJ really started the year for us. So I think his level of comfort, him being healthy is big for us. Keelan's been exposed to a lot of football. I think Jaden Blue's been chomping at the bit for his opportunities, and Savion's been in some critical moments for us. So, our offense is going to remain our offense. And like I said, I think we're fortunate we have some guys that have some experience, that have playmaking ability, that are all really versatile backs. And so we'll go into the game and navigate it accordingly as the game requires.
Yeah, I think we know how he feels about CJ Baxter, and the staff feels about it. The running back coach, the offensive line coach, the entire offensive staff feel pretty good about CJ Baxter. I mean, he was the starting back for 3 games, and he was a freshman in playing college ball at the University of Texas. So they felt pretty good about him and his abilities. Well, now he's towards the end of the season, and now he should be almost a seasoned veteran. He's had enough carries. He's been in enough games. This won't be his first rodeo walking out for the first time being a starter. He has been a starter, and he's played against teams much better than he's playing against tonight. So this is an opportunity for him. It really, really is, because you don't know what the deal with Jonathan Brooks is next year. You're hoping he's coming back. You don't know what degree he'll be back with a knee, because you never know about a running back, how they're going to – some guys come back like there's nothing that ever happened to them. Some guys limp around for about 6 months after you thought they'd be ready to play, and you've got to have somebody ready to go. So this is his opportunity right here. And Blue, I think they're, as Sark says, this is an opportunity for these 2 young guys in a key football game for the University of Texas.
Well, there might be more opportunities for 4 different guys now that Jonathan Brooks is out, right? I mean, CJ Baxter, you assume, will be this team's starting running back tonight. Jaden Blue will be number 2, but Keelan Robinson, you talk about experience. Right. He's got plenty of it. He's been solid in the return game for Texas this year. Hasn't gotten a ton of run on offense, but it feels like he's made a couple of plays when he has. And then Savion Red. I don't know how many traditional, running back runs you'll see from Savion Red, but we might see more of the Red Cat or the Code Red package tonight.
During the course of a series, why not?
Yeah, just to see if that can work. Texas is still going to try to run the football. They're not going to abandon it altogether. They're going to try to run it, and if they need to be creative or innovative or both to do so, they are going to pull out all the stops to make it happen. And look, if you're Steve Sarkisian and his Texas coaching staff, like, the messaging going into this game, I think, is easy. Like, look, Texas fans might be worried regardless. I think even if Jonathan Brooks was playing, Texas fans would be a little bit nervous about this game. But what's Texas's most impressive win this season, Buck?
Alabama.
Who was the starting running back for Texas in that game?
Was it Jonathan Brooks?
No, CJ Baxter.
It
was the second game of the year, like you said.
That's right,
Baxter started the first 3 games.
Right.
So Texas, with CJ Baxter as its starter, went on the road against a really, really good Alabama team that's just beaten the brakes off of everybody since they played Texas.
He didn't last very long as the starter in that game.
Yeah.
But he did go out first.
Right. He did go out. Look, Jonathan Brooks only had 57 yards in that game. So, like, Texas went on the road against a team that's way better than Iowa State.
Absolutely.
Didn't have Jonathan Brooks as the starter. Didn't have Jonathan Brooks go off for some sort of career night. And they still beat Alabama by double digits on the road. So if there's any fear in that Texas locker room, that's what Steve Sarkisian should have been preaching all week. It's like, guys, look what we did without Jonathan Brooks as the starter, and without Jonathan Brooks going for 100, 150 yards. We beat a really good Nick Saban-led Alabama team in their house by double digits. We're going to be just fine right here. So that's the messaging right there. Like, I get why people are nervous, because Jonathan Brooks, once again, has been the most consistent offensive force Texas has had this year, and he has been a force. But no, this Longhorn team has
a lot of weapons. There's so many other weapons than Jonathan Brooks. I know how consistent he's been, but there are other weapons on this football team on offense besides Jonathan Brooks, and even the other young running backs. There's guys at wide receiver. They run enough screens, they run enough dump offs and things like that to get these guys involved. And, they've all been at one time or another, they've all been involved. A.D. Mitchell's been involved from the get-go.
Yeah.
Xavier Worthy from the get-go. Jordan Whittington at times. J.T. Sanders at times. But now it's time to bring all those guys together. And it doesn't have to be throwing the ball down the field, 30, 40 yards down the field. I'm talking about keeping the chains going, keeping series alive, keeping drives alive. You only have to win by 1. You don't have to win by 25.
Well, I'd prefer to win by 25.
You would. I know.
You're still trying to put some style points on your resume for the College Football Playoff Committee. So, finding a way to win handily would be nice. But obviously, to get to the Big 12 title game, to keep those hopes alive, then yes, a 1-point win counts the same as a 30.
Yeah, what I don't want to happen tonight is I don't want to have to see a fourth quarter game where you're worried about what's going to happen in the secondary. I mean, the offense has done what they really needed to do. But now you've put it in the hands of not just this defensive line, but your secondary and their quarterback. You can't let him get on the roll. There's no reason for him. He's played better, from when he first started. He's played a little bit better, but he's not the best quarterback you've seen so far this season.
No,
you really and you haven't seen a lot of them.
Rocco Becht.
This thing about the quarterbacks that this defense has seen, this team has seen. They played against a lot of backups this season. And they've taken care of business, one loss. That's it.
Right. Yeah, Rocco Becht, the starting quarterback for Iowa State. He's been their guy all year long.
Right.
He wasn't expected to be their starter, though. Hunter Deckers, the guy who was QB1 for Iowa State last year, was involved in that gambling.
Oh, they gamble there. That's right.
Yeah, they do gamble there a lot. So I wonder which side of the ledger they're on tonight. Texas is a 7-point favorite, by the way. When I woke up, Texas was a 7.5-point favorite. So some game day money has been coming in on the Cyclones.
Dialing it back a little bit
for this one. I had no idea who Iowa State players are betting on. But yeah, Hunter Deckers suspended from the team. So Rocco Becht, a redshirt freshman, he won the job. And boom, he is thrown into action. He's been solid. He's not the best quarterback that Texas has seen, as you mentioned, but I like the way he plays. He's pretty fearless. I think he's ultimately going to be a very good college quarterback.
Sure.
I don't think he's very good right now. I think he's solid right now, but I think in a couple of years, Ames is going to have themselves pretty special. He's the son of former first-round pick Anthony Becht, the guy who had a nice career in the NFL, and I think is now an XFL head coach for the 5 of you out there who care about that league. But yeah, Becht is decent. He gets the ball out quickly too. That's what Iowa State does with its passing game. And they're really going to need that tonight because Iowa State's O-line is not very good. And Texas obviously is one of the best defensive lines in all of college football. So that's going to be the blueprint for the Cyclones offensively in the passing game is just get the ball out of Rocco Becht's hands as quickly as possible to ensure that Texas can't eat up front on defense.
Oh, no, they don't want that defense to be in there on their quarterback. They can't afford to have him hurried and throwing passes, 5-7 step drops where the ball just his arm gets hit or you get strip sacks. Just they have to be very careful on how their game plan is too. Now, I always think about Texas. It's all about Texas, but the other teams are in it to win it too. Iowa State has a lot on the line too. They're still trying to get to a bowl game, are they not?
No, they've already won 6 games.
They're in it.
They could still make the Big 12 championship game. Like if they win their last 2 games, I think they're going to need some help from around the conference, but they're only a game back of the Longhorns. They're 5-2 in Big 12 play. So look, they would be up for Texas anyways, because they don't like Texas very much. And if you didn't know that before this week, you definitely do now. But yeah, no, they still can win a conference championship too.
Yeah, they have a lot to play for.
Yeah. And it's senior night for Iowa State. Like it's their last home game of the year. So another reason for them to be juiced up for this one. So yeah, this isn't going to be easy. I mean, I don't think any Texas fan expects this one to be easy.
Are any of them easy except for Tuscaloosa? And how did that get to be easy?
I don't know if that was easy. But Texas found a way to win it by double digits. Look, Texas has some blowout wins. I think people's opinions are skewed. Opinions are skewed. I think that makes sense by what's happened the last 2 weeks. But 3 weeks ago, Texas beat BYU by 30. BYU damn near beat Oklahoma today.
Yes, they almost beat them.
Maybe they're not the worst team in the world. Texas beat the hell out of Kansas. Kansas is a ranked football team. Texas beat the hell out of Baylor. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Baylor's any good, but Texas has won some blowouts in conference play. Obviously, the last couple of weeks, the big story for Texas is they've gotten out to these huge leads and they've allowed their opponents to get back into this one. So, yeah, Texas could be up 21-0 at halftime tonight. I don't think anyone's going to feel comfortable.
Oh, no, nobody will.
Yeah.
I know I won't. I mean, like you said earlier in the week, I'd rather for it to be 14-10 or 14-7 at halftime, feeling good, and the Longhorns understanding what they still have to do still in the second half. They still have to play football because they kind of forget about it in the fourth quarter for some odd reason. They tend to kind of lay back a little bit and all brakes and no gas.
Yeah, it's been a problem for Texas. Well, let's hear from Steve Sarkisian about that. This is from earlier in the week. Brock, we'll go with cut 4 here first. Here's Steve Sarkisian kind of explaining what went wrong for Texas in the second halves of these last 2 games.
I think they're different. You know, you go the Kansas State game. How did they get back in the game? We gave them the ball inside our own 20-yard line twice, right? I mean, and we got a punt blocked. And so we gave them a short field. They were able to score quickly. This game, they were getting play yards in chunks, and they were able to get down the field and score. But how do you get back into a game when you're behind by 20 points? You get quick scores. And so we have to minimize their ability to score quickly on defense, but yet still remain aggressive. We can't let people get comfortable, and I think that we let them get comfortable. On the flip side, offensively, we have to possess the ball. And how do you possess it? 1, you don't turn it over. 2, you extend drives on third down. And turnovers 2 weeks ago, not converting third downs the other night, third and makeables, third 1, 2, and 3s. I mean, that's what you ask for as a coach. And to go 2 for 8 in those scenarios, that's not good enough. We need to have a better plan, and then we need to execute the plan better.
I like that. You need to have a better plan, Coach. When you tell me 3rd and 2s, that's when I expect you to dial up somebody that can get open, and the quarterback, no matter who the quarterback is, can dump it to them and they can get 2 yards. Yeah. Yes, give me a better plan.
Yeah, the worst play call Texas had last week offensively was they had a 3rd and 1, and they threw that screen pass to Jonte Cook and asked Xavier Worthy to block somebody. Xavier Worthy didn't block that somebody, and the play got blown up in the backfield. That was dumb because on the play before, Jonathan Brooks had run it for 9 yards to make it a 3rd and 1.
There's no reason to throw that ball out there. Give it to him again.
So, yeah, no, the coaching's got to be better. The play calling's got to be a little bit better. More of my issue, and what I really liked hearing from Steve Sarkisian in that answer, and I think he reiterated this a couple of times over the course of his 2 media availabilities this week. He talked about the defense being more aggressive. That's been the bigger issue to me. Like, Texas fans, I brought this up a few times this week, so sorry if you've heard me say this, but maybe some of you haven't heard me say this. Texas fans, just based on social media over the last few days, they just act like Steve Sarkisian tried to run it 400 straight times in the second half against TCU. In the third quarter of that game, Texas had 11 offensive plays. They threw it on 8 of them. That's not like all brakes, no gas. Like, Steve Sarkisian tried to make sure that Texas kept its foot on the pedal and kept putting up more points. They just weren't able to pick up those third downs like he talked about, and that's how TCU was able to get the ball back so quickly. So,
and TCU also was starting to get chunky.
Well, that's the issue, right? Like, I feel like offensively, you can blame Sark for some of it. They scored 3 points in the second half, so obviously the offensive play caller deserves some criticism for that. But defensively, that was the issue for Texas. I mean, TCU's last 3 touchdown drives took a total of 5 minutes and 37 seconds. They were averaging nearly 9 yards per play in the second half against Texas. And it's because Texas went into that prevent mode on defense.
Yeah, you've got to make them play another down and then another down and then another down. You can't give them 16-yard plays. I mean, you can't give them
they made Savion
yards.
Williams look like Marvin Harrison Sr. and Jr. combined. It was ridiculous. Like, they just gave up those massive chunk plays, and it's once again, like, common sense tells you when you have a big lead, you should drop more guys into coverage to prevent big plays. Texas's secondary just is not good enough right now.
No, you got to attack the quarterback.
They've got to attack. They've got to attack the quarterback. So Texas was doing that a lot in the first half last week. It's why they kept TCU out of the end zone and kept them to 6 points in the first 30 minutes. But they went prevent mode. And once again, that should work. But you got to self-scout and realize that doesn't work with this team.
No, it really, really does. And you got this team will have to continue to, you can't give up chunk yards on defense late in games, and your offense has to find ways to keep the chains going. I don't care, Wildcat, Bobcat, Joe Cat, whatever cat you got, it's got to work.
Whatever cat
you got to work. Got. You got to go. You got to run clock tonight. You're away from home, so you got to score touchdowns in the red zone. And Xavier Worthy has to take a punt back to the house again.
There you go.
There you go.
You calling it?
I'm calling it.
Come on, man.
There. It's there.
I feel like you're 2 for 2. And
it's there. It's happening.
You
tonight.
called a block punt against Oklahoma, and Texas did that. And then you called a Xavier Worthy touchdown against BYU, and he did that.
It's time.
Okay.
It's time out there in the cornfields.
That'd be awesome.
You know,
talk about
running between the children of the corn. It should happen.
You talk about taking the crowd out of the game.
Oh, yeah.
Brock, you texted me, move the mic back 4 inches, like away from me. I'm too loud. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, people.
Well, you also have, whatever you got going on in the crud.
I've got AIDS, syphilis, sinus infection.
But you'll never have the flu.
But I will never have the flu. No, I've had the flu a few times. You will never have the flu.
I will never have the flu. I'll have 16 COVID events, but I'll never have the flu.
And today's pregame show is brought to you by Halls.
Of course.
Because like all three of us are dealing with something. There's clearly something going around Austin, Texas, USA, America right now. So I don't sound my best. Apologies to all of you for that. Before we check the YouTube clean comments line, and we'll get a scoreboard update here in a few minutes, let's do another cut from Steve Sarkisian. We'll go with cut 5. What are Texas fans looking for, Buck? They're looking for the Longhorns to play a complete game.
Yes.
Right? 4 quarters. It feels like it's been a while since we've seen Texas play a full 60-minute football game. I can't remember who it was, but somebody asked Sark, when's the last time your team has played a full 4-quarter game? Here's what he said.
I don't know. I'm more focused on how we're going to improve. And I don't know if I'm ever satisfied. I mean, I don't know. I've never met a coach who was satisfied after a game. There's always room to improve. And so, to think we're going to go play a perfect game Saturday night, probably not going to happen. But I'm going to keep pushing our guys and be demanding of them to improve. And I'm going to be demanding of our coaches to improve. There's no time for us to sit back and accept it, And so I don't know when exactly that last time was. There's never been a game where I've gone in on a Monday morning and didn't have corrections to make, and so that's the challenge. Every week there's different things where we can improve as a team, and that this week that is of the utmost importance for us.
Coaches just will never answer the questions that's asked.
Well, he didn't know the answer to the question.
Well, I mean, just coach, you can I'll go back to the Baylor game. That's really the last.
He just didn't want to say that because that game was like 2 months ago.
I know, but it's okay. They asked you the question.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you didn't win the games. We know the ones that you won. You only lost one game.
Yeah, I mean,
we understand that you've by the skin of your teeth, you won a couple games. So what? You won the game.
It's November 18th, and that Baylor game was in September. So he didn't want to be like, the last time we played a complete game was on September 23rd in Waco.
You played some good games, but you haven't played a complete game like that since you played at Baylor, really. You did well against Kansas.
Yep.
I thought the Kansas, they came in with a backup quarterback who really is their starting quarterback because the starter had never played this season anyway and is never going to play this season. So the guy who's the backup is truly their starter. So you played a pretty good game against Kansas. By the skin of your teeth, you won a couple with a backup quarterback. But if you want to answer it, just say it was Baylor. That was the last time. He doesn't want to remember back that far.
Right.
He doesn't want his team. He doesn't want to hear somebody talk about his team all the way back to September. But truly it was. Now, it was Baylor that you beat. So if you really want to go way back, you can say in Tuscaloosa. And nobody would be mad at you if you say it in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, Texas hasn't played a complete game since the Leafs started turning. If the Leafs even turn here in Austin.
But you've won, and that's what it's good.
Yep, it's good.
Because in years gone by, you've lost a couple in between that.
Exactly.
And a lot of other coaches that have coached at Texas would have lost those games.
Yeah, I saw somebody on Twitter earlier today be like, tonight's the game that proves if Texas is different, if this year's different than all the other years. I'm like, I feel like they've proven that a bunch of different times over the course of this season.
Yes.
They went on the road and beat Alabama by 10. That didn't prove that this year was a little bit different. They're 9-1. It's their best record since 2009. That didn't prove that this year was different. And like you said, they've blown some leads, obviously.
Yes.
But they've won all of those games.
That's right.
That's Oklahoma wasn't a blown lead. They lost that game. They got punched in the mouth early. They had to play catch up. They did have a lead with a minute and a half left. So I guess if you want to call that a blown lead, maybe I shouldn't argue against that. But
yeah, but no coach wants to go back all the way to September and say that was the last time we really, because then it makes people think that, so you haven't played well since then. No, they played well in games. Yeah. They've done a good job. Now and at times they've fallen right on their face, but they've found ways to get up and win the game.
Yeah, this Texas team is different because
it is different.
In recent years, they find ways to lose games. It felt like the Longhorns were inventing new ways to lose every single Saturday.
Yeah, so I don't know why it's so difficult to just say, it was Baylor. because we all remember it. Yeah, it was Baylor. Because we can look at Kansas and we can look at K-State where you came back and won the game, and we could all look back and say, guess what? That's called a win. But
is there a dog here? Did you hear a dog bark out there?
Doggo?
At Covert?
Maybe Doggo's here.
Very friendly out here at Covert BK.
Yes, they are, for sure.
I guess you can bring your pets if you want.
Oh, it's bring a pet to work day.
Your emotional support pets.
Yeah.
People can't leave their dogs and cats behind, apparently.
Yeah, but I just find it hard, but he's not the only coach who would answer it that way.
No. He was searching, though, for the coach speak answer. You could tell.
He was looking for it.
Shit, what can I say that is coach speak here? What can I do?
Well,
or never satisfied.
Oh, I don't know a coach that is satisfied. Well, I know. Yeah, coach, I got that too.
Yeah,
I'm always thinking how we're going to get better the next game.
That one made me laugh. All right, how about a check of the YouTube comment line brought to you by our friends at Clean Cause. Buck, a word for Clean Cause before we read some of what our viewers have to say today?
Folks, I love the folks at Clean Cause. Believe me, they're wonderful people. They're wonderful sponsors to us. They take 50% of their profits that they make with their Yerba Mate drinks, and they put it back into the community for folks that have addictions, whether it's alcohol addiction, drug addictions, any addiction. That's what Clean Cause is all about. And their products are everywhere. And they've got a great product. They've got it. I mean, even down to the coast at HEB's down the coast, it's down there. They're at 7-Elevens. Obviously you can find them at Costco's. You can find them at most convenience stores. And they're great. And they're great people, and they do a great service to all of Central Texas, as a matter of fact. And 50%, I'm not talking about 5%, I'm talking about 50% of their profits go back to supporting drug and alcohol abuse. Love the folks at Clean Cause. As I said, you can see them, you can check them out at some of our favorite places like 7-Eleven. And just keep doing the great job that they do. I know people around this area. My wife loves the clean drink. She loves those things.
I've been to y'all's house. There's like 400 of those things.
Know. She loves them. She loves all the different flavors.
You're ready for the zombie apocalypse.
Cherry lime and orange ginger. She loves it all.
Well, what'd you call me? I don't have red hair, dude.
No.
Just making sure you know that. Shout out to our guy Ian, who checks in from Australia today.
Very nice.
That's interesting. And Houston is leading Oklahoma State at halftime. If Oklahoma State loses again and Texas wins these final two games and Oklahoma wins next week at home against TCU, we're going to get the rematch.
That's what I want.
Right after Oklahoma State beat OU in Bedlam, it kind of looked like Oklahoma wasn't going to make it to Arlington, but they've got a great shot to get there if Houston holds on against Oklahoma State. It's 23-19 at halftime. So a long way to go. That game in Houston. But yeah, Oklahoma State obviously got beaten down by UCF last week.
Did.
And they are down at Houston this week. So they've come back down to earth since that big win in the final Bedlam game. Y'all send the score predictions. Rob says 28-10 Texas. Christopher says 34-10 Texas. So we've got a lot of confident Longhorn fans, which that's different from what I've seen on social media this week. Here's Dave saying anxiety level 8 for Ames today. So, I guess there are Longhorn fans on both sides, right? Some folks feeling like, hey, Texas is better than Iowa State, and you should feel like Texas is better than Iowa State. Iowa State 6-4. They're 5-2 in the league. They've won 4 of their last 5, but I keep reminding people, look at Iowa State's last 5 games. Look who they've played. Baylor, TCU, BYU, Cincinnati, and Kansas. Okay, they lost to Kansas at home at night.
Yes.
I guess Kansas brought the night vision goggles.
They brought their goggles with them. You have to.
Yeah. What do they say? BYOG, bring your own guts?
You have to.
Well, here it's bring your own BYONVG, bring your own night vision goggles for this game.
Because they don't have any lights.
So you could see up there. Iowa State lost to Kansas. The 4 teams that they've beaten over these last 5 weeks have a combined Big 12 record of 7-21. So, yes, they're playing some good football. They're winning games. Credit where credit is due. But it's not like they've played anybody good.
You have to knock the emotion out of this group. I mean, emotions get knocked out by physicality, and that's what this defense can do to you. I mean, I hope they get the ball first. I'd like to see a quick 3 and out, where they try, let's try to establish the run game. As everybody does, let's see if we can run against this Texas defense, because nobody has until the fourth quarter of games when they start to wear them down or something happens to this defensive line in the fourth quarter for some reason. But Iowa State's going to try to do it tonight. They'll try to run the ball and say, you know what? We don't want this quarterback. We don't want this kid throwing the ball all night long. So let's see if we can run it against them.
Well, here's where Iowa State and TCU differ, right? They both run the 3-3-5 on defense. Now, Iowa State's defensive coordinator, John Haycock, is kind of the guy who patented this.
Yes.
And you've seen teams across all levels of football basically steal that concept, and it's kind of revolutionized.
Last night in a high school game.
Yeah, it's kind of revolutionized football.
But you better know how to play it.
Did it work last night in the football game?
No, it did not. It did not. The three defensive linemen that they had down there were getting double teamed into the secondary.
Lake Travis had no problem against it.
No problems with them.
Yeah. So the difference, though, between the way TCU plays and the way Iowa State plays, TCU is one of the fastest offensive teams in the country. They were top 5 in the nation in plays run per game. You obviously saw that in the fourth quarter. Yes. They were going up tempo, and it was giving the Longhorns all sorts of problems. Iowa State, they want to take the air out of the football. They are 113th in the country in plays per game. So they're going to slow things down, which, okay, maybe
I like that for Texas.
Maybe that's good for Texas, right? Like you don't have to worry about the up-tempo offense, which has given this team not only problems last week, but all season long.
This way I don't see guys running through the secondary because somebody missed an assignment.
But on the opposite end of the spectrum, you get fewer chances on offense.
Right.
Like it makes your plays more valuable. It makes every possession more valuable. You've got to be better in crucial spots. This feels like a big take the points kind of game.
Yes.
I mean, the over-under is 44.5. So Vegas is telling you that they expect this to be kind of Big Ten style smash mouth football.
Right.
Feels like 3 is going to be successful tonight. And also Texas has to win on key downs. I hope I'm not stealing your 3 keys for the game.
No.
Sark talked about it earlier. Texas was 2 of 8 on third down last week. Texas is 79th in the country on third downs. Iowa State's defense is 21st. So that's not a matchup on paper that favors Texas, but you've got to be able to keep drives alive once again, because you're not going to have a ton of possessions and a ton of plays on offense, which means you need to capitalize when you do have the football.
Yeah, your first down plays have to be good. You can't get stuffed on you can't have +1, +2. You've got to get a nice average, whether it's running or throwing the ball for the Longhorns.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, you want to be in third and short. Once again, Texas wasn't great in those situations last week, but still, obviously, every play caller would rather have 3rd 1, 2, and 3 versus 3rd and 10. So, yeah, success on early downs, obviously important for Texas. All right, let's do a scoreboard update.
All right.
Let's check out some action from around the country right now. Our scoreboard updates are brought to you by our friends at Moonshine, Patio, Bar, and Grill. Love those folks. We'll tell you more about them here in a moment. We mentioned the Houston-Oklahoma State score. They're just about to start the second half down in H-Town. Houston leading OSU 23-19. Obviously, that game has some Big 12 championship implications. Number 1, Georgia. They're doing what they do all over Tennessee. 38-10 in Neyland Stadium. 3 quarters completed there. Some folks thought Tennessee would make this one interesting. They actually scored a touchdown on the first play of the game.
How about that?
Since then, they've been outscored 38-3. Good job. They're volunteering to lose by a lot to Georgia today, I guess. How about this score? My God, this is perfect. Illinois 10, Iowa 9, late in the third quarter in Iowa City. If Iowa wins this game, they're going to be playing in the Big Ten championship against the winner of Michigan and Ohio State.
I'll take the winner of the Michigan or Ohio State game in that one.
Yeah, that's the boldest statement you've ever made in your entire life.
With the exception of Michigan is asleep.
Yeah, exactly. Clemson leading number 20 North Carolina 14-7, early second half there. And look, Texas fans were rooting against teams ranked ahead of Texas. Well, you're not getting any help in Tempe today. Number 6 Oregon 42, Arizona State 0 in that one. So Bo Nix, he is bolstering his Heisman campaign. He has been tremendous for the Ducks on the road today. Some final scores. You brought up Michigan earlier. Sorry about your 5,000 unit lock of the weekend, Buck. Michigan struggled with Maryland. They had to hold on for a 31-24 win. Very controversial call. An intentional grounding that was called on Taulia Tagovailoa late in that game, which
it was to the outside. I saw that.
You think so?
He was in the pocket. He wasn't attempting to throw the guy who was 15 yards away from the ball.
No, he wasn't that far away.
Oh, he wasn't attempting to get that ball to him.
I disagree with you there.
I think they've got to understand where they are. Quarterbacks need to understand you have to get right outside the pocket. It's just to the tackle area. That's all.
Right.
I mean, that's one of those things that's in your mind. If you're drop back and pass and you know you got to get rid of it, just slide to. He could have slid to the right. There's no reason for him to stay right in the pocket there.
Yeah.
Just take it 2 steps over and throw it. into the ground, which he did.
He was clearly in the pocket, but I thought there was a receiver close enough. And it was funny. I was actually listening to the Maryland radio call on Sirius XM driving here.
No.
They were pissed, dude.
I love it.
Understandably so after going back and watching it. But, yeah, Michigan, they stay unbeaten, 31-24. Ohio State's taking care of business, so both of those teams will be undefeated going into that game next weekend. Arizona over Utah, 42-18. Blowout victory for Arizona there.
How good did they get in a hurry?
No kidding. Louisville over Miami, 38-31. Excuse me. Louisville will be playing in the ACC championship game against Florida State. And the last one, Oklahoma surviving a trip to Provo, 31-24. Dylan Gabriel actually left at halftime. Looked like a concussion. He did not return. BYU played really, really well, but ultimately Oklahoma was able to do just enough to get a 7-point win on the road to keep their Big 12 championship hopes alive.
Yeah, incredibly, that was incredible to watch BYU run the ball against that Oklahoma defense.
They had a lot of success on the ground.
Yeah, their big running back had a pretty good day.
Yeah, and did you see who was playing quarterback for BYU? It wasn't Keaton Slovis. He was hurt.
No, it was a dude who could run with the ball a little bit. I saw that.
They had a Jewish guy playing quarterback. First time in BYU history where they've had a Jewish starter at QB. He played pretty well, but he had a bad pick six.
Oh, the pick six, the 99-yard pick six.
Yep, that was huge. It looked like BYU was about to take an early second half lead there, and instead it was a pick six, which Oklahoma won by 7, so you could say that was the difference in the game. But yeah, Oklahoma once again keeping their Big 12 title hopes alive. So there's a scoreboard update brought to you by our friends at Moonshine Patio Bar and Grill. They are celebrating 20 years in the Austin area, and they want to thank all of you for your support over the past 2 decades. Go see them for a fantastic dinner or check out their phenomenal weekend brunch.
Oh, Sunday brunch is fantastic.
It's as good as it gets. 2 locations, one downtown and one in Avery Ranch. Go to their website, moonshinegrill.com, for more info. Great vibes, fantastic food, full bar. It's awesome, man. Always love going to see Moonshine Patio Bar and Grill, and we think y'all will as well. All right, we haven't talked about this yet, Buck. I think every Texas fan has heard this throughout the course of this week. But, Brock, we're going to go with cut 6. This is the one non-Sark audio that we have today because it comes from Jared Hufford, the Iowa State offensive line, who earlier this week was talking to some local media in Ames, and he was asked about Texas and playing Texas for the final time, and he didn't pull any punches when talking about the Longhorns.
It's definitely going to be one heck of a farewell present. You know, I think especially they're going to come in here on senior night in the dark. You know, I don't think they really know what is going to be coming for them. I think they'll have to come out and figure it out. But I think just the cycling community names, you know, when it comes to night games, especially against Texas, you know, we beat them 4 out of the last 5 times they've been here. So they don't have a good record here. We have a very distasteful in our mouth for them. You know, definitely want to send them off the SEC with a loss on our end, but you know it's gonna be a good game.
Tell us more about that distaste for them.
Oh yeah, it's just, you know, ever since I got here, it was Iowa and Texas. That's kind of the thing, and you know, the horns down all the time and whatnot. But it's just, you know, that program, much like Oklahoma, you know, they get all the big 5-star recruits. They have all the nicest stuff in the world, and they just think they're, you know, they don't stink, put in layman's terms. But you know, they're just humans. And that's how I see them. You know, they're just people that have such a high ego that needs to be checked.
And your team is a bunch of aliens because you do everything in the dark. How do you do that? How do you – I mean, do they not have – I thought they had light. They're going to have stadium lights, right?
I think so. Maybe they won't be on, but I've seen night games at Jack Trice Stadium before, and they have had lights in the past.
Maybe he goes to classes in the dark or something. I don't know what that was all about. They're going to come here in the dark. Really?
That's news to me. I mean, it is a night game, but
I mean, anything to get his team going, I guess, is senior night. You know, he just wants to, I mean, bulletin board material. Texas has enough of it just trying to get to a championship game. By the way, so do they, as you said earlier, so do they. But I don't know, all that, you know, they get the 5-star, they get the girls, they get the 5 stars, they get the Cadillacs, you know what I mean?
I'm not sure I want any Iowa State girls anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean, stop it, Jared or Jared or whatever, how you spell your name.
Yeah, Jared spelled Jarrod. But if you look
that.
You look at the guy, he doesn't look like a Gerard, right? You see
Yeah.
that spelling and you think it's Gerard, but
all that yapping, I'd be worried about the guy who's playing across from me all night.
Yeah. Well,
that big dude.
That makes this more interesting, right?
Yes,
I mean,
it
obviously,
does.
when anybody talks trash like that, it becomes a big story. But yeah, Jared Hufford is an interior offensive lineman for Iowa State, meaning he's going to have the responsibility of trying to block T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy for
luck.
4 quarters tonight. And that's the strength of this Texas team, right? The interior D-line is the best in the country. Hell, this Texas D-line as a whole is one of, if not the very best in college football right now.
And you said that earlier in the week they were snipping right back at him, huh?
Yeah, on Twitter, on social media,
on the X,
as they call it. Yeah, throughout the X, Des Bryant. So yeah, like obviously Texas saw it. And look, let's hear from Sark, and then we'll give our thoughts on this. We'll go cut 7 here. Steve Sarkisian was asked about this on Thursday. Just kind of what's your thoughts on bulletin board material, and here's what he had to say.
The reality of it is much of that gets said kind of publicly week to week or not week to week. I think our players hear things, indirectly. And we try not to just put too much into that. We try to focus on our mission, and we've been on a mission since week 1. And that mission continues Saturday night. So we try to keep the focus on us. We try to be enamored with what we need to do to play the game at the level that we're capable of playing.
I mean, that's young players' way of, that's their social media. That's their communications of just saying what they think of the other team. It's not, I don't think it's so derogatory that it's the worst thing they've ever heard.
No.
I mean, the guy was polite enough. He didn't say anything about anybody's mama during the course of his speech. Or their sister, or
he was
anything.
taking some personal shots, though.
But he took a couple.
Not at families, but he's saying they think their shit don't stink. Like, that's not football related. That's personal.
Yeah, and if I was a player, I would take it real personal. Yeah. But more than anything, I'd be taking what I've got to do as a player, not against that individual there, but what they have to do as a team. And that's how Sark presents it. Of course, he goes to the coach speak, and we're more worried about what we have to do. But they hear it. They can't pretend that they don't hear it. I mean, that social media gets out.
Yep.
And it only takes a friend of a friend of a friend to let you know, did you see that? And when players start telling you, no, I never saw that, they're not telling the truth.
Yeah, a few Texas players responded on X this week, and a lot of them just said bet. Basically like, oh, yeah, we saw this, and we know what you said, and we're coming for you. So get ready.
Wow.
So, look, I'm cool with the trash talk. Let's set the record straight. Sure. Like, I'm not mad at Jared Hufford for doing this. I think his head coach, Matt Campbell, might be mad at him for doing this.
Oh, he spoke to him. They all do.
I think his quarterback, Rocco Becht, might be mad at him for doing this.
Hope you have a great night.
You're going to piss off T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. Like, those guys are good enough already, and now you're going to make them mad. I'm the guy who's about to get hit by them 50 times.
I've been telling him, I hope you have a good night tonight.
Yeah, thanks for doing that one, jerk. But I'm cool with the trash talk. And, hey, if Iowa State wins, Jared Hufford's going to look like a legend.
That's right.
He's never going to have to pay for another beer in Ames for the rest of his life. But if he loses and the Texas D-line wins that battle against the Iowa State O-line tonight.
And they whip his ass all night.
And they whip his ass, then it's going to be like, dude, why did you poke the bear? Like, you're an idiot. We don't even want you on our team anymore, Gerard.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, that wasn't much to do about much, but for directing it at those two dudes. Now, if you would have directed it to somebody in the secondary, I got you. I understand what you.
Iowa State receiver is like, yeah, those guys aren't very good.
Yeah,
every Texas fan would have been like, yeah, no, you're right.
We got you on that.
Yeah.
But directing it at those two cats, that's not good for you.
Let me ask you this, Buck. You've been a coach. You've been in more locker rooms than I have. If you're Steve Sarkisian, you were playing that in the locker room all week long, right? Like just on a loop, what Jared Hufford said. You're making sure that your players don't forget about those comments.
Oh, I'm going, of course, during the course of practice to go over to those guys and make a special announcement. Hey, you did hear about what that dude said. Maybe you forgot about it because it was a little bit earlier in the week. Maybe you forgot, but let me remind you what he said about you and he said about your team. So, but first of all, I'd tell him to bring lots of flashlights because you're going to need it because this is going to be dark.
Headlamps. Get those headlamps.
Oh, yeah. You got on the helmets. That should be fun. That's just basic trash talk before a game.
Sure.
It's nothing big and bad. It's just when both teams are fighting for they're both, like you said, they're both fighting for the same goal right now.
Yep.
They really, really are. So it's just Now who's going to back up all the words now?
Yeah, like we said, I mean, Texas has had plenty to play for all season
Sure.
long, so they should have been ready to roll for this game tonight. But yeah, they got a little
And
bit
they haven't
more.
played that well there.
No, they got a little bit more bulletin board material, and I don't know if Jared Hufford was just statistically wrong or if he was calling his shot like Babe Ruth or Mark Messier.
Sounded like he was calling his shot.
Well, he said Iowa State has won 4 of the last 5 home games against Texas. In the words of Mike Gundy, that ain't true. Iowa State's won 3 of the last 4. They've only won 3 home games ever against Texas, for the record. But I wonder if that was him just having bad information.
Chalking one up.
Or if he's like, it's about to be 4 or 5.
Wow.
I wonder if that was part of the trash talk, too, from that big boy.
Now I'd really be mad now. If he was chalking one up, if I could find out, but he's not going to let you know that. But
if I'm Bo Davis, I'm like, yeah, he's chalking this up as a win.
That's right. That's what I'm telling my guys.
He's saying 4 or 5 because he's assuming they're going to beat your ass on Saturday night.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's where it is right now. So, hey, trash talk is fun, man, but obviously you got to back it up. And for Texas, look, they've got a little extra bulletin board material if they were looking for some. They got to go out there and take care of their business tonight.
For sure.
And, yeah, we've talked a lot about the Texas offense, and, of course, we'll get back into that. But let's do our defensive player of the game prediction right now and really dive into this Texas defense going up against Iowa State's offense. Our defensive player of the game prediction is brought to you by our friends at Kenfield Golf Cars. More on them in a moment. Buck, I will give you the honors. Who is your pick for defensive player of the game tonight?
Well, I think the guy in the middle, Jalen Ford, is going to have to be really, really good tonight because I don't think they're going to be, they're not a great throwing team. They're going to try to run the ball. They're going to have runs here or there, but I think Jalen Ford is a guy who's going to sniff some of this stuff out, BK, and force turnovers. I think he is. I think this is a game for him to make those big sticks that Sark is talking about when turning the ball over. You haven't seen many running backs get hit from this Texas linebacker core this year and drop the ball.
Mm-hmm.
They've generally bounced off, they've made a tackle, but not many running backs have coughed the ball up to Texas. Texas only had 2 lost fumbles themselves, which they've done a great job of. But other teams have done pretty good against this Texas defense too. Now they've made some great tackles, but they haven't forced a lot of running backs to drop the ball.
Right.
And I think Sark would like to see that. I'd like to see a 2 to 3 turnover night. And I think Jalen Ford will be a part of that because he's been that guy.
Yeah.
And he can make it happen. So I'm looking for him to have just a fantastic night and stymie this run game. Whatever run game they're going to try, if it gets past that defensive line, he's going to be there to make it happen. I don't think he's going to have to drop deep in coverage. The crossing routes will come tonight.
Of course.
Especially in the dark. You'll see a lot of balls.
Are they playing with a glow-in-the-dark football?
Oh, yeah, they're going to have to do that.
Got a Nerf ball tonight?
You're going to see some crossing routes.
Yeah, of course.
And I think he'll play these well tonight. I'm looking for him to have a kind of MVP night tonight.
And you talk about Texas with the takeaways. The good news for the Longhorns, they have forced multiple takeaways in every game since the Oklahoma game.
Ever since Sark talked about what they had needed to do.
Yeah, so not a ton of forced fumbles against running backs, but, hey, all takeaways count the same.
Sure.
And Texas has been turning teams over a lot here in the second half of the season. It's why they've won all of these games, honestly. They haven't done everything right, especially defensively, but they have been able to generate those takeaways. Those have been big. Hopefully we see more of that tonight. All right, Jalen Ford. I'm going to go with Byron Murphy. Why not?
Go.
I feel like I have to pick either Murphy or Sweat,
That's right?
Because the guy that they're going up against was the guy talking trash. And also those have just been 2 of Texas's most consistent players on defense all season long. So I'll go with Byron Murphy. I'll give him a couple of TFLs. I'll give him a sack, which is obviously really good if you can get sacks from your interior of your defensive line. But Byron Murphy was one of those Texas players who took to Twitter earlier this week to respond to Hufford's comments. His response was 7 p.m. That's all he said. He was just letting Hufford and letting everybody know what time this game was taking place tonight, 7 p.m., to the point, short and sweet. Byron Murphy's ready to go. I'm going to go with him as my defensive player of the game. Brought to you by Kenfield Golf Cars. If you are in the market for a new or pre-owned golf cart, we've got good news. Kenfield Golf Cars, they're here in Central Texas. They were founded in 1979, and they are the very best at what they do. They've got an unparalleled selection of different golf carts available in new or used, and they want to turn your golf cart dreams into reality. My folks in Galveston have a golf cart. It's a game changer, man. So easy driving around the neighborhood. It's simple. You get yourself a golf cart. Friends are going to love it. Family's going to love it. It's just going to be easy. Kenfield Golf Cars can make it happen for you. Once again, they've been around since 1979. Nobody does it better. Go to their website, KenfieldGolfCars.com, for more information Or, hey, if you're old school, give them a call. 512-258-8515. It's Kenfield Golf Cars. Okay, so we talked a little bit about Iowa State's offense. Let's hear from Steve Sarkisian. We'll go cut 10 here, Brock. Here's Sark talking a little bit about Iowa State's quarterback, Rocco Becht, and what he brings to the table.
Well, he's gotten a lot better from the beginning of the year to where he is today. And again, I think that's a sign of a good program, that their players are developing and they're getting better. What he does is I think they do a nice job with their RPO game and taking advantage of those throws with the run game and tying it together. I think too, he's mobile enough, especially with all the sprint outs that they do and the things on third down. He throws well on the run to extend drives on third down. And three, from my perspective, he looks really coachable, because when they get those opportunities that they're trying to create, predicated on coverages, he's taking advantage of them now. And there's a lot less hesitation in his style of play. So, again, I think that he's a good player who's kind of trending like this. He's been getting better and better as the season's gone on.
In other words, he's a great game manager.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, he's not going to light up the stat sheet,
right?
But he's been solid. And like Sark said, he has gotten better as this year has progressed. So, I mean, Iowa State's offense was horrible early in the year. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that they're one of the best in the country right now.
No.
They're not even one of the best in the conference by any statistical metric, but he's improved a lot, and this offense has gotten significantly better. I mean, they lost 10-7 to Ohio early in the year. Not Ohio State, Ohio U.
MAC,
now,
Ohio.
MAC, Ohio's solid. It's a good team. They might win the MAC this year, but still, they scored 7 points against a MAC team. Like, that's a disaster, and that game was at Iowa State. So they've come a long way from what they did early in the year, and Rocco Becht is a big part of that. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, he gets the ball out of his hands quicker than any other quarterback in the Big 12.
Well, they're doing sprint out, throwing the ball on the run, keeping him moving.
So it feels like a smart game plan to do that against Texas because of how good this pass rush is, but that's what Iowa State does anyways. Like, the majority of his attempts are less than 10 yards. It's a lot of short throws. They get it out quickly. They like to nickel and dime you. That's kind of the move for this Iowa State offense.
Well, if you work hard enough and you study hard enough to their film, this is where a secondary guy can get a chance to undercut one of these sprint outs and go the other way.
Yeah.
And this is where I think that Ford is so good at this kind of thing, where if you're late with a throw, don't be late, or Texas got the kind of athletes that's going to undercut some of these balls and go. You better be able to step back there on occasions and drop back and throw deep, and not those quick outs. Those quick outs get a little dangerous as time goes on.
Yeah, so they do that, right? They do take some shots down the
Sure.
field, and like everybody does, but that's kind of what they want to do offensively, right? They want to nickel and dime you, a lot of short throws, and then they're hoping your safeties come up.
Right.
They're hoping your guys fall asleep a little bit, and then they're going to try to hit you over the top for a big play. There's good news and bad news. The good news is, I mean, Iowa State's passing offense is designed to be efficient. Once again, short throws, they should be a higher percentage. They're not. They're 95th in the country in passing efficiency this year. Becht has been inaccurate at times. He's got 7 interceptions this year.
They don't have great wide receivers.
No, they don't.
They generally have one guy that's pretty good. But
yeah, they lost their best one, right? Xavier Hutchinson, an NFL guy with the Houston Texans. It felt like he was there for 10 years. He's not there anymore.
Absolutely.
The bad news for Texas is Rocco's modern life can move a little bit. Now, he's not Jalen Daniels. He's not Jalen Milroe, but he's got some speed to him. And we've seen dual threat quarterbacks cause some problems for Texas, not only this year, but in recent years as well. So they do have to account a little bit for the legs of Rocco Becht. But like you said earlier, man, for as much as we're kind of praising Rocco Becht here, and obviously Sark just did too, this guy's far from the best QB Texas has seen this year.
They've seen better.
I'm not sure he's in the top 5 of quarterbacks Texas has seen this year. So you can play that in the Iowa State locker room too if you want.
About 3 steps behind Howard.
Yeah.
K-State.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So that's the quarterback. You brought up their receivers. Jalen Noel is their best receiver. He's fast. He's very good after the catch. You cannot have that dude lined up against a safety.
No.
I don't know if you could have like a walk-on receiver lined up against a Texas safety, because our safeties just couldn't cover you or me in a phone booth right now. But there are some matchups that obviously scare me there. Jaden Higgins, a good transfer receiver. He's 6'4". He averages about 18 yards a catch. So he is their big play threat. And of course, it's Iowa State. They're doing a lot of 12 personnel. They don't have They had that kid Charlie Kohler who was there forever.
And the other big tall, they had
Chase Allen.
Yes.
Yeah, they had like 3 NFL tight ends, it felt like,
Right.
at one point. They don't have that now. They've got a couple of decent guys. They've got a freshman who's very good. Benjamin Bramer is his name. But like you said, I mean, they don't have that game wrecker on the outside at either wide receiver or tight end. So that's the good news for a struggling Texas secondary.
And this is a team that they won't score a lot of points. They just want to try to play fundamental football. They want to hopefully, if they get in the 20s, they feel pretty good. If they can score 24 points to 30 points, they feel really, really good about that. You can't let them get to 30.
No, that'd be a disaster.
No, you can't let them get in the 30s, not at home, because that'll tell me that they're really running on a lot of emotions and not a lot of talent.
Yeah.
And you've let them in the game.
Our guy Daryl says Texas better not line up 10 yards off the ball. Yeah, you're talking about them jumping routes. They're not going to be able to jump routes if they're playing soft-ass coverage like they have.
No, like I said, if you're doing your film work and you see exactly what they've been doing and this is their game plan, they want to sprint him out and they want to throw and get rid of the ball real quick. That's when those undercuts come.
Yeah.
They're not dropping back 7. They're not all of a sudden tonight dropping about 7-step drop, 5-step drop against this Texas defense, because you don't want Sweat or you don't want Murphy on your lap as you get ready to throw the ball, because now you got a bunch of punts going up in the air.
Yeah. And it's you look on paper, Texas leads this conference in sacks this year.
Yes.
That's not very surprising. Iowa State actually leads the conference in fewest sacks allowed this year. But more of that, once again, has to do with just how quickly they get the ball out versus how good their offensive line is. Because their O-line, PFF metrics, not very good. And then the run game for Iowa State, like, this is advantage Texas. I mean,
yes,
I'd feel good about the Texas run defense going up against Michigan right now. Like that's one thing that you don't question about this Longhorn team is their ability to stop the run. You did mention it earlier. Bailey from TCU last week did have a little bit of success in the second half.
Don't like him in the fourth quarter. I worry about him in the fourth quarter.
That's not a normal thing, though. Like, that only happened last week. Like, that didn't happen against K-State. The secondary just couldn't stop anybody. That's how K-State
Well, it did happen early in the season, the first couple of drives where guys kind of got off for some big runs early.
Not the fourth quarter, though.
No, they didn't make it to then.
It
was over by then. They got reeled in about that third drive, and they weren't making those runs. But they had some early success. This is a group I don't want to give any success to early at all.
Yeah.
Not up there.
They shouldn't have a ton of success. There is a kid, a running back there that I really like. His name is Abu Sama, the third. Apparently there's 3 of those guys.
Wow.
You know any Abu Samas?
No.
You know his grandpa or his dad by chance?
No, I don't think so. Give me Sama. No.
Give me Sama. No. Give me some more.
Yeah.
Give me Sama more. He's good. He's a true freshman, averaging 6.6 yards a carry.
Make him turn it over. Hit that dude and make him turn it over.
Sign me up for that.
He's the guy.
Yeah. I mean, they're talking about him like he might be the next Breece Hall up there. Like, they're really excited about him. And he had a couple of explosive runs last week in Iowa State's win over BYU. He's getting more and more carries as the year goes along, but yeah, still, I mean, Iowa State ranks 81st in the nation in yards per carry, going up against one of the best run defenses in all of college football. So that is a matchup that Texas should be able to win tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And you make any redshirt freshman quarterback have to throw it a whole lot, right? You make any offense one-dimensional, you should be able to have a lot of success. Even though the secondary isn't great right now, if you're able to just neutralize Iowa State's running attack and make Rocco Beck throw it 30-plus times, you're probably finding a win.
Yes.
Yeah, you're probably finding a win. And once again, Iowa State's offensive line ranked 84th in the country in run blocking. So it's just Iowa State's not that good. I've been saying it all week. They're not that good. Their record is inflated by playing a bunch of really bad Big 12 teams this year. And Texas is just more talented, and on paper, they're so much better.
Yeah, it's just all of what you give to them.
Yep.
I mean, you can't afford to give the ball to them.
That's it.
You've got to get first downs. You can't have a bunch of, like you said, third and shorts. You know what I'm saying? Third and twos where you're lining up in the Bobcat or the T-Rex or whatever you line up in, and it gets stuffed. You know, like I said, don't give them any don't emotionally give them anything tonight. Yeah. Take all the emotion out of this game, and then just play player to player and see what happens.
I wish it was as simple as, because what's the old cliche or the old adage? Like, oh, you get off to a good start, you take the road crowd out of the game. Well, Texas has been doing that, but they let the road crowd back into the game.
They come back in the fourth quarter to haunt you. That's what happens.
Yeah, because they're letting the road team back into the game. Or hell, obviously against K-State, that game was in Austin, and they still let K-State back into the game.
That's why for offensively, if you're playing well tonight offensively and you're in a nice role, you just got to keep going. And if it's throwing the ball and you're worried about, why are we throwing then? Shouldn't we be running clock? Hell no, throw it.
Yeah.
If you're having success throwing the football and moving it down the field, even when you get a nice lead, BK, third quarter, fourth quarter, keep throwing. Who cares? You're not going to let them back in the game. If they can't cover you, they can't cover you. If they can't cover you in the first 2 quarters and you get to the third and most of your success is coming in the throw, they're not going to cover you in the fourth all of a sudden.
Right.
You're just better than they are.
Yeah. Drew on the YouTube comment line says that's what OU said about BYU. Sounds just like the OU podcast. Iowa State's a lot better than BYU. Don't get it twisted. Iowa State beat BYU by 30 last week. BYU played a great game against Oklahoma today. I don't expect this game to be super easy. Oklahoma was a 24-point favorite against BYU. Texas is a 7-point favorite against Iowa State. So I don't think those two situations are that similar. But if Texas is smart, if they don't turn the football over, if they play to a standard, my God, we've been saying this for 15 years, man. I feel like since I was in high school, this has been a conversation that we've had to have talking about Texas football. If they just play to a standard and not to their level of competition, they're going to be fine. They are going to be fine today. But we just unfortunately haven't seen Texas able to do that over 60 minutes in some of these games, especially over the last couple of weeks. All right, on the offensive side of the football, how about our offensive player of the game predictions? We'll give you more on this Iowa State defense and what Texas needs to do to attack that group. But, Buck, the offensive player of the game brought to you by Verde's Mexican Parrilla. Who's your pick for tonight?
Quinn Ewers. I think he has to be.
The quarterback.
Yeah, I have to go with the quarterback tonight. I know if Jonathan Brooks was playing, you'd have him, but he's not playing tonight, BK. You're going to have to go elsewhere tonight for your guy.
Yep.
But I'm going to go Quinn Ewers. Week number 2 coming back. If his arm is lively tonight, I expect that he'll have a really, really good day or a good evening in the dark, whether it's in the dark or, get your lighters up or cell phones up. I think he'll have a really nice night. I think there's a lot of gaps in this 3-3-5 defense that if his arm is strong enough, he's going to get the ball in some of those windows, and they won't be tight windows. And I think he's got the players that he trusts. And I think A.D. Mitchell, once again, will have a really, really nice night. Quinn Ewers will feel very comfortable with him. I want to see Sanders get involved early because he's the guy who has to put up the yardage that you won't get from Jonathan Brooks. And then, of course, Xavier Worthy's going to he's going to try to get over the top. That ball is going to be thrown over the top at some time.
Sure.
But I think Quinn Ewers, he's got to guide this team now without the running back tonight.
I'm with you, man. I mean, that feels like the obvious pick, right?
Yep.
Look, picking the quarterback to be your offensive player of the game, never a bad strategy.
No.
But with the running back, the guy who's been your best and most consistent player on offense out, you really feel like even though Quinn Ewers isn't 100%, he's going to have to put more of this team on his back to try to find a road to victory tonight in a hostile environment. So I like that pick there. I don't know if Quinn is going to have to be as good as he was in Tuscaloosa, but man, if he could have some sort of performance like that, that would be awesome for
Dude, if
Texas.
he had the performance he had last week with just a little bit more zip on the ball later on,
Yeah.
but I have one more week of healing, I would think he's just a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
But as I said, these night games, kind of crazy, you just don't know. The temperature here is okay, but what will the temperature be there after halftime, after you've gotten warmed up, and then you got to come back after a half, and we know what this team is like once they have a lead now. It gets a little scary. Can he still throw the ball with consistency, accuracy, and with a little bit of velocity on it in the third and fourth quarters? Because I truly don't know what to expect. I don't know what to expect from the run game. I don't. I just know that they have talented players, but I don't know what to expect from these two runners. Yep. I just don't.
Quinn is more of a known quantity than
yes.
CJ Baxter, Jaden Blue, Keelan Robinson, Savion Red. Obviously, Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell are known quantities. Jatavion Sanders is a known quantity. You've got to rely on your best players, and those guys are your best players on offense.
And with Robinson, he got he got the looks when Bijan Robinson was in games, and when that's how Jonathan Brooks got his deal. He'd come in when the game was in hand, run for 130 yards, 120 yards, and so did Keelan Robinson. He did the same thing. He came in games, so he can break the big play. But him on a consistent basis, this may be the kind of night for him.
Yeah, I don't know how many carries Keelan Robinson's going to get, but I think he'll get 6. More. I think he'll get more playing time. I think maybe a couple of screen passes will be headed Keelan Robinson's way. I think that's where he thrives versus just in between.
But we know he can make big plays.
Yeah. He's doing it in the return game. And, get the guy the ball in space. That's kind of what happens on kickoff returns, and he can make guys miss. You give him a couple of screen passes, let him try to shimmy and shake his way forward. I think he can make some things happen. So,
and we'll learn an awful lot about this young running back tonight. We'll learn a lot.
Which one? We'll learn a lot about all of
C.J.
them.
Baxter.
See, all right, I'm going to make a bold prediction here.
We'll learn a lot about him as a player, as that next up-and-coming running back to University of Texas.
I'm going to make a bold prediction here.
You're not saying he's going over 100.
Jaden Blue is the leading rusher for Texas tonight.
I'm almost of that thought
No,
that you are, because I'm talking a lot about Robinson. I'm not saying a lot about C.J. Baxter.
maybe not so bold, I guess, Brock. I thought I was going out on a limb there, but maybe not.
Yeah, he's got that breakaway speed, and he
Yeah.
runs, like I said this week, I think he runs between the tackles pretty good for a smaller back.
Yeah. I
But-
think they could be a good 1-2 punch.
Sure.
Right? Because Baxter is bigger, right? 6'2", close to 220.
Yeah, and he can punish guys now.
Yep.
He's got to that part of that learning process as a young running back in Texas that he now understands I'm 220 some pounds. I can't be going bone to bone and having defensive backs and safeties knock me down. I got to make them pay for coming up and making tackles against me.
Yeah.
Plus, we know what he is when he gets in the open field. He can fly. He's got the speed.
Yeah, I think Jaden Blue's a little faster.
Yes.
And I think he hits holes a little bit quicker.
He does.
Now, it's a small sample size of Jaden Blue that we've seen, and a lot of it's been, late in games that have already been decided.
Plus, I want to see Jaden Blue get to the perimeter on teams.
Yeah.
Get around, bounce around the corner and go.
I think he's better at that than,
Yes.
than C.J. Baxter
I
is.
would agree.
But regardless, Jonathan Brooks, I think, was second in the nation in terms of forced missed tackles. And C.J. Baxter hadn't been doing a lot of that this year.
No.
And Jaden Blue hadn't gotten enough carries to qualify for any of these stats, so we don't really know what to make of him, too. So
we're both in the kind of dark and seeing what we get out of the running back position.
yeah, this Texas offensive line, I think, we saw it last year, Bijan masked some of their deficiencies.
Yes, and we're seeing it now that you've got to be a pretty
Brooks-
good runner
Yeah,
behind them right now.
I think Brooks is doing some of that too. The interior of the Texas offensive line just has not gotten nearly enough push all season long, and that's a little bit of a fear because, Brooks was able to turn negatives into positives seemingly all the time.
But
so
if you're getting a big runner like
that.
C.J. Baxter that can get you 4 yards and some push with it, that's okay. If you're throwing, if Quinn Ewers is on, then that's what Baxter's for. He's not there to get you 15-yard, 20-yard runs. He's there to get you those hard 4-yard runs that'll keep the chains moving. And now you throw the ball. Like I said, I expect to see more throws than anything tonight. I know Sark is going to want to try to don't need to prove a point, just need to win the game.
Right. He's going to try to run it, man. I'm telling you, he is going to try to run it a lot, and he'll try to go back to the well. But obviously, if it gets to a point where it's just repeatedly not working, what's the definition of insanity?
Oh, just doing it over and over again
And expecting a different result.
Yeah.
That's obviously what you run the risk of right there. So I don't think I've given my player of the game prediction. I'm going to go with Adonai Mitchell. He only had 3 catches last week, but they were all huge. Had a touchdown. Obviously had the dagger on that 3rd and 12 at the end of the game that Texas needed to convert to avoid giving the ball back to TCU in the last couple of minutes. And look, Xavier Worthy was going up against one of the best corners in the conference last week in Josh Newton, and he torched him. He freaking torched
he did.
Josh Newton. So maybe I shouldn't be thinking this way because X is just that good to where he could probably torch any cornerback in this conference. But Iowa State's got a really, really good number 1 corner. They've got a few really solid defensive backs. So, it's a little scary because this secondary is the number 1 pass defense in the conference right now. So you're talking about Texas having to throw the ball more and be effective through the air. Iowa State's been good with their secondary, but TJ Tampa is the name of their best corner. He might be the best corner in the Big 12. He's 6'2". I mean, this guy's going to be a 1st or 2nd round pick. He's 1st in the league in forced incompletions, 1st in the league in PBUs. He's a problem. So
he's liable to follow Mitchell all over the place.
Well, I think he's following Worthy. Worthy's still the best receiver on this team. Now, Mitchell's also a number 1, which that's awesome that Texas has 2 number 1 receivers because there have been years where they haven't had 1. But I think TJ Tampa is going to be shadowing Xavier Worthy a lot tonight, which means, okay, go to the other guy. And the other guy, Miles Purchase, is Iowa State's number 2 corner. He's solid too. It's not like he's some sort of
they're
schlub.
good in the secondary.
But I'm just going to go with, okay, maybe you try to avoid TJ Tampa and you go after the other guy. And I think AD Mitchell is going to be going up against the other guy a lot. So I'll call for a 100-yard performance from Baruch Atah Adonai tonight. It is Shabbos after all.
There you go.
So I'm expecting big things from him. He's my offensive player of the game prediction. And those are brought to you by Verdes.
Verdes. Love Verdes. Love that Verde, the chicken. I'm the chicken man. That's right.
Yep.
Love to go there and get the chicken pollo verde, which is fantastic. It's a breast of chicken stuffed with zucchini, mushrooms, and cheese.
Oh,
I went there the other night, and the young lady says, so what would you like? I said, the same thing that I come here to get every single time.
you could stuff anything with cheese and it's going to
yes,
be
you could.
good, right?
But the not the zucchini. Only reason I do that is because they give me the mushrooms and the cheese with the zucchini.
Ah,
Zucchini by itself is just zucchini.
right. It's ass is what it
Nah,
is.
it's nasty.
I'll go ahead and say it for
It's
you.
nasty, man.
Love Verdes, though. I mean, everything
Love
on
it.
the menu is ridiculously good. I love the chicken poblano enchiladas. I mean, I've had 4 or 5 different things there, but that's probably my favorite. Fantastic fajitas, enchiladas. They've got steaks. They can do fish.
The salsa is absolutely delicious.
The salsa is fantastic. Yeah, located on Hamilton Pool Road off of 71. Verde's Mexican Parrilla, serving up an extensive menu of all of your traditional Mexican and Tex-Mex favorites. Beautiful indoor dining area. Makes for a great date night, but also the covered patio.
Oh, yeah, the patio is fantastic.
Tonight
man.
might be the perfect night for that. They've got TVs on that patio as well. So if you're looking for a place to watch the game, get you a great meal, covered patio, tons of space for the whole family. They've got a huge grass area too.
Yeah, if you've got a party,
footballs.
And you want somebody to host your party, this is the place you want to go for sure.
Yep, they can host your next event. They can cater. Once again, that outdoor area, tons of games and toys for the kids as well. So you can watch the game, enjoy a margarita, and the kids can just go run around and tire themselves out. They've got you there at Verde's Mexican Parrilla. Shout out to them. Okay, another scoreboard update, shall we? That wasn't rhetorical. I was asking if you wanted one or not.
Yes, James Madison. I would like one.
Did James Madison win?
I don't know. Did Dolly Madison win?
James Madison
What?
lost in overtime. Heartbreaker. Yeah, college game day was at James Madison. The only reason Bucky cares is because his cousin had some money on the Dukes of James Madison today. Yep, 26-23. They lose to Appalachian State. Way to go, James Madison. You get game day and you lose.
Yeah, undefeated. Yeah. Great.
Yeah,
Great job.
So there's that game. If you care, you probably don't. Oklahoma State has figured some things out. They outscored Houston 14-0 in the third quarter, and they lead Houston 33-23 after 3 in H-Town. So OU fans rooting for Houston. Oklahoma State, I think if the Pokes win their last 2 games, they will make it to the Big 12 title game. And they've got, I think, Cincinnati, Baylor, somebody awful.
Yeah, Waco High.
It's BYU in Stillwater.
Oh,
Maybe not as easy as we thought, considering how BYU played, but Oklahoma State in the driver's seat in Houston in a game that obviously has Big 12 title game implications. Some other games in progress. Number 6, Oregon all over Arizona State, 42-3 after 3 quarters there. Clemson, boy, it's been an up and down year for Dabo Swinney and Cade Klubnik. Clemson is beating the hell out of Mac Brown in North Carolina, 31-14.
wow.
Early in the fourth quarter there. Ohio State all over Minnesota, 37-3. Why does Minnesota have a football team? I have no idea.
Just have hockey.
And hey, one team that we're rooting for today that we've never heard of, but we're rooting for them. The Lions of North Alabama. They're playing Florida State.
Don't even tell me it's happening.
And 0-0.
Oh, okay.
That
The game didn't start.
Yeah, it started 4 minutes ago. 11 minutes in the first quarter. North Alabama from the FCS. Boy, Florida State, give me a break. They get to play them in week 11.
By the way, the Aggies win without Jimbo Fisher.
Yes, they beat Abilene Jewish.
Why did they ever need him? Why do they need Jimbo?
I think they could have beaten them with Jimbo today.
You think so?
I think so. But yes, the Aggies did win in the first game without Jimbo Fisher. Oklahoma over BYU 31-24. That game was close, but the Sooners hold on for the win in Provo. Other games that are final: Michigan over Maryland 31-24. Maybe the closest game Michigan has played all year, but they did find a way to win to stay unbeaten. Number 1, Georgia all over Tennessee in Knoxville 38-10, the final there. And Louisville, we might be rooting for them in a couple of weeks against Florida State. They clinched a spot in the ACC title game against Florida State with a 38-31 victory at Miami today. I think that's all of the games people care about. Alabama won by a lot, which is, I guess, good for Texas. They played Chattanooga, so no surprise that they won by a lot.
Love week number 11.
Yeah, no kidding. Are we going to get that when we go to the SEC?
Yes, we are. We'll have that week number 11 too.
If they go to that 9-game conference slate, we're not going to get
Let's
it.
just not mess with the Bobcats, though. Oh, the Bobcats didn't win, I don't think, tonight.
Texas State?
Yes.
What are you worried about? Texas State?
Yes.
They're having a great year.
I don't want to play them.
I think I'd be okay playing them.
Would you?
Yeah, I'd rather play them than Georgia in week 11.
You'd be more worried about them than you would Baylor, that's for sure.
That's for damn sure. Yeah, because Texas State beat Baylor.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. And Texas
beat them down.
They beat them down at Waco High. And yeah, what'd you say, Brock? Yeah, Texas doesn't play against those FCS teams.
Oh, it'll change.
Hopefully
things will be changing.
Hopefully it does. Let's get Incarnate Word on the schedule. Let's play them in basketball. I'm just kidding. We don't need the FCS teams. Although I wouldn't hate it. A couple games tonight. K-State at Kansas. Obviously some Big 12 title game implications there. And then every Texas fan, I think a lot of us like Beaver already, but we're rooting for Beavers tonight.
Absolutely.
Number 11, Oregon State hosting number 5, Washington. Of course, Washington ranked ahead of Texas, meaning we need them to lose for Texas to bolster its CFP chances. Obviously, if Texas doesn't win, though, none of that stuff matters. Scoreboard updates brought to you by our friends at Moonshine Patio Bar and Grill. Okay, back to the Longhorns, Buck. Let's hear more from Steve Sarkisian. The last time Texas played at Iowa State, it did not go well for the Longhorns. The first half did. Texas was up 7-3 at recess in Ames, and then Iowa State outscored Texas 27-0 in the second half, and the Longhorns lost 30-7. That, of course, was year one of the Steve Sarkisian era. That, of course, was in the middle of the 5-7 season, and that led to the Bo Davis rant that I think every Texas fan has seen and or heard at some point over the last couple of years. Obviously, a lot has changed with Texas football over the last couple of seasons. They are in first place in the Big 12. They control their own destiny to get to the conference title game, and they're still very much alive in the college football playoff picture for the first time ever, because the college football playoff picture has only been around for 10 years or so, and Texas hasn't been good in the last decade. Here's Steve Sarkisian. He was asked about just kind of the difference of where this program is right now versus when they were going to Iowa State 2 years ago. This is cut number 11 here, Brock.
We've put in a lot of hard work into not only developing our players physically, but developing our culture. You know, we spent a lot of time on that. And those guys were at the forefront of that development. And, you know, a lot of those guys after year one could have left and went to another school. After last year, could have left and gone to another school if they didn't see the growth and if they didn't see the vision of where we were headed as a program and why we're demanding of certain things and why we're empowering certain players to become leaders on this team. And so the fact that they get this opportunity to go back to that place, let's call it the scene of the crime, okay, to kind of, you know, for a little bit of redemption. I think I'm excited for those guys that they get this opportunity because there's been a lot of blood, sweat, tears that have gotten to us to this point. And now the fact that they get to go back out there and play again and put a better version of Texas football on the field, I think that they're excited about that and looking forward to it. Well,
I think this is the opportunity for this football program, as he says, as they're not the same team that was there before. That's just a different group. The culture's changed, but there won't be any excuse if you don't win this football. There won't be any of that. You know what? We've built our culture, because the next time he talked about, I mean, he'll talk about culture against Texas Tech, and this is what we want. These are the type of teams we want to play. We want to show how physical we are. You don't win this game, all that culture stuff goes back into rebuilding our culture again.
Well, I don't
next
think
week.
It doesn't go all the way back to 2021.
I mean, it'll go all the way back to, guess what? We got to rebuild the culture for the next game. It doesn't just kind of stick with you. There won't be any excuse for losing this game. It won't be a Jonathan Brooks. It won't be, well, we're missing our star running back. No, your team should beat this group.
Yeah, you should still beat them, but
yeah,
that's what Texas fans will use as an excuse if they don't win this game.
No, you can't use that for an excuse. There's not an excuse for losing to Iowa State after the way you've played there before. Yeah. They've taken advantage of you over the last couple of years. If your culture is what it's supposed to be, and you've found ways to win, you'll find a way to win tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you, because you're the more talented team.
Yes,
it's
for
as simple
sure
as that. And Iowa State is 1-2 against Big 12 teams with winning records this year. So, yeah, I mean, Texas is just the better team in this game, and they should be able to find a way to win.
And you should be playing remember, he's looking, well, we haven't played our best football yet.
Right.
Okay.
Well, you're running out of time, coach.
Yeah, that's right. How about tonight being the time to do it?
Yeah.
You know, when you're down an important player, how about this being the best time you play your best football?
Yeah.
Because as you said, you're running out of time.
You
only have so many games left before you start playing your best football.
I think Texas already has played its best football.
I do too.
I think it was in week 2. You worry this team maybe peaked a little bit too early, but the good news is they're still finding ways to win these games.
Yes, you're winning the game.
But man, if they could play like they did in Tuscaloosa, then
if they could play like they played against Kansas, they should be okay against this team.
Well, Kansas beat Iowa State a couple of weeks ago, right, in Ames. So Iowa State, for all of this talk about how tough of a place that is to play and for how good they are, especially at night, they are 1-3 in their last 4 home night games. And once again, the Kansas game, I keep bringing that up. It wasn't like 2 months ago. It was 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And Kansas went in there and they kind of dominated the game too. And Jason Bean, the backup quarterback for Kansas, you can call him a starter at this point because Daniels isn't playing anymore. But I think he only had 14 completions, but he threw for almost 300 yards. Like Kansas had a ton of explosive passing plays, and Jason Bean's not as good as Quinn Ewers, and Kansas's receivers are not as good as Worthy and Mitchell and Whittington and Sanders. Like they were able to find
make
success.
Those explosive plays for Texas tonight.
You should be able to have some of those.
Yes.
Like once again, Iowa State stats, their secondary is number 1 in this conference in terms of fewest passing yards allowed, but they have been prone to giving up the big play. And once again, think of the teams that they've gone up against. It's Baylor, it's TCU, it's Cincinnati, it's BYU, like these bottom feeders in this conference. Like all of Iowa State stats are seriously inflated because of their opponents. Oklahoma put up 50 on this bunch earlier this year. Like when they've played good teams, once again, Kansas, Jason Bean had all sorts of success throwing the football against this group 2 weeks ago. The only team with the winning record in conference play that Iowa State beat was Oklahoma State. But that was the first game of Big 12 play before OSU figured out how to play football. So to me, every time Iowa State's had to play somebody good, they just haven't been very good. Brock's raising his hand. What's up, dude? We've got breaking news, apparently, from young Brock, who's with us here at the Covert BK Studios. Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark.
That means he's bringing his officials with him.
Is in the building.
Oh, no.
Let me go ahead and put a bet on Iowa State real quick.
Oh, no.
Hold on now.
That means his officials. That means he's going over to their room while they all gather together and talk to them, too.
He's going to go Buffalo Wild Wings and make a call to the sideline.
Look out tonight.
Oh, no. That's not good. I've been sitting here all week feeling good about a Texas win and cover, and now not so much. Shoot.
That dude is in the house. Oh, just a little visit. Oh, how you guys doing tonight? Really? You're going to have a nice Thanksgiving? I won't be in Austin with you, but I'm here tonight.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
So instead of going to Austin, this is going to be the Texas game he attends now?
It doesn't matter.
Shouldn't matter.
No.
You'd like to be able to win by enough to where the refs are.
But you will
not
see
a
some
factor.
ghost calls tonight. I'll let you know that now, folks.
Of course you will.
The ghost will be out.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's going to be dark. So
the hole in the pocket tonight.
The refs can't see when it's light outside. How the hell are they going to make some calls when it's dark out? They've got no shot here.
Wow.
Got no shot. So, yeah, Brett Yormark is apparently in the building for this Texas at Iowa State game. Of course, it kicks off in a little more than an hour on Fox. We're with you for another 30 minutes right here on the Texas Sports Unfiltered pregame show. By the way, hit us up on the YouTube clean comments line. Somebody asked, how have your locks gone so far? You're 0 for 3 on your 5,000 unit locks of the week.
You know what I do have left, don't you?
You have the Dallas Cowboys.
Your Dallas Cowboys.
I'd like to congratulate the Carolina Panthers on
their
second win of the season.
No way.
You had Oklahoma covering you had Michigan covering the 19 at Maryland.
Yes.
They won by 7. You had James Madison covering, I don't even know what it was. They lost
11
to Appalachian State. And you have the Cowboys minus 10.5. And then you also decided to put those 3 games into a parlay for another 5,000 units. So you are at minimum down 10,000 units. As it stands right now, you're down 15,000 units this week. So as we speak, you're 31,000 units in the hole on the season.
Well, remember, Christmas is just around the corner.
No one can afford Christmas anymore. Literally, nobody has money to buy their kids gifts now because of you. Hopefully, they listened to me and started fading your picks. I told everybody to bet on Maryland and to bet on Appalachian State and to bet on the Panthers. So hopefully, they're listening to me. I'm not saying I'm smart. I'm just doing the opposite of what you're doing.
That's all you have to do is go opposite of me if you want to make some.
This year, you'd be up 31,000 units.
Wow.
I mean, it's impressively
Hey,
bad.
it's not over. It's not over.
No, it's not.
I'm going to change my culture. I am. My
betting
betting culture.
Next week, you're going to put 30,000 units on a game and you're going to lose it.
No,
Yes.
I'm not. My culture will change next week. I
Oh
will
my God.
investigate what's going on. I'm going to be like Jim Harbaugh. Maybe I shouldn't show up. Maybe I should just stay at the hotel.
You're on a 3-week suspension because your picks have been so bad.
Stay at the hotel, Jim.
Oh my God. That's where we're at right now. So yeah, thanks for the comments, everybody. Appreciate y'all being a part of this pregame show. It's been a lot of fun. Okay, more on this Texas offense. We've talked a lot about Quinn Ewers, and I think he's got to have a big game for Texas.
Yes.
You made him your pick to be this offensive player of the game tonight. The good news for Texas, they were able to keep Quinn Ewers upright in Fort Worth. He didn't get sacked. I don't think he got hit at TCU last week. Iowa State's defense is 116th in the nation in sacks. They have 5 sacks from their 4 edge rushers. 10 games into the season, they're getting no pressure off the edge. And for as faulty as this Texas offensive line has been, they've actually been really good in pass pro.
Yeah, they have.
Especially in recent weeks. So Quinn should have time. We mentioned Iowa State secondary has been good statistically, but once again, against good opponents, they have not been good. This should be one of those games, and Quinn Ewers, like most quarterbacks, is a hell of a lot better when he can sit back in a clean pocket and dissect the defense. He should be able to do that tonight.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any problems throwing the ball down the field. And he doesn't have to 3-step drop and get rid of the ball quickly. But that was one of my keys to victory. Is the first thing is protect Quinn Ewers.
Okay.
They're going to do something. Coach, they may do something you've never seen on film tonight.
I mean, they're going to run the 3-3-5 defensively. Like, they run that every week.
Yeah.
And they don't need to put a ton of different stuff on film.
They'll put a little different version of
Of course,
that
they'll
on
have
there.
some wrinkles. They might bring more pressure than they usually do to try to get Quinn off
because
his
you
rhythm.
do want to hit him. You want to.
Yeah.
You know, they tried to hit him last week. They couldn't get to him.
Yeah. I mean, if
That
Quinn
ball
was
was
healthy,
gone.
right, you'd want to hit him. But now, for sure.
Yeah, so I think you got to really protect him. That's got to be one of the first things on your list. Is you always have to protect your quarterback, and this team has done a pretty good job of protecting the quarterback. They've let him sit in the pocket. They let him dissect what's going on in the secondary so far, and he's had opportunities to throw some balls down the field. Last week he had all kinds of opportunities. I mean, as I said, when you throw the ball to Mitchell, it doesn't have to be right on the money. He's going to make the catch. If he gets his hands on the ball, he makes plays.
Yeah.
And I think tonight is one of those nights where he makes a lot of plays. We're going to say JT Sanders, but we don't know. We don't know.
Can this please be the JT Sanders night?
We don't know. We really, really don't know. Sark talks about him a lot, like the way he used to talk about Jordan Whittington when he first got here, about how much he loved him, but he doesn't show him any love.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is another one of those nights for Jordan Whittington too. A guy who can get in these seams, 3-3-5, can get in seams, catch the ball, run with the ball after the catch. So, but no, Quinn Ewers has had plenty of time to throw the ball, and you got to give him even more time again tonight, I believe. So, and I think he'll get it done. Like I said, I think they're going to throw the ball more than we think they're going to throw it tonight. I know he's going to try to run it, but I don't think he's going to waste a lot of time running the ball. He's going to see what he can get, but I don't think he's going to run till run to you. To me, it's run till you can't run anymore. But I don't think Sark's like that. He's not. No, he's going to throw the ball. That dude's throwing.
Well, he's going to run it if he can run it.
Yeah,
he's going to try to do what you said, but if Texas can't run, then they're going to have to throw the football.
Yes,
a lot.
And it'll be on first down, second down. It doesn't matter what downs. He's throwing it.
Be aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to be aggressive against this team.
That's what you did at Alabama.
You got to score points because I don't know if this team can catch you. When you get out to some of the leads that they've gotten.
Oh, any team can catch Texas. Dude, like Travis could catch Texas a second.
Oh, you think so?
Right,
you mean in the fourth quarter? Yeah. You think they can catch up to him in the fourth no matter what?
If they're playing the prevent defense, yeah.
No save, no scores are too safe.
Dripping Springs, Westlake, Lake Travis, any high school team that's still playing in the playoffs could have some success if Texas is playing that prevent drop 7 or 8 defense. But yeah, I mean the Texas passing game needs to be good. And Jatavion Sanders, he's the number 2 tight end in the country. That's what everybody says. And
You're starting to think now. You're starting to sound like me.
No.
That's what people say.
No, let me get to my point. Mel Kiper Jr. also has Brock Bowers as his number 2 tight end. So I think it's fair. I think Jatavion Sanders is a really good player. I think more of the issue for why his numbers haven't been good is because Texas just hasn't made it a point of emphasis to get him the football.
Absolutely.
Brock Bowers today against Tennessee had 7 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. That's not an all-world stat line. Can we get that out of JT Sanders tonight?
Yeah, that's
is
fine.
that too much? I'm not asking for 150 and 2 TDs. I'm not asking for give me a great Travis Kelce-like performance.
That's a bad night for Bowers.
Just 7 catches, 60 yards, in the red zone where you've really struggled.
Yes.
Get 0 the football.
That's a bad night for the number 1 tight end in America. For that dude, just coming off of all kinds of weird surgeries. But that for him, a bad night, a touchdown and a bunch of catches, would be a great night for JT Sanders in this offense. The way it is.
It shouldn't be that way, right? That should
is.
be the norm for Jatavion Sanders.
That should be his bad night.
Last week, he had 4 catches for 40-something yards, and that's one of his better games of the year.
It doesn't seem right, does it?
It doesn't. It doesn't. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Jeff Howe was talking about it earlier this week with us on Texas Sports Unfiltered. With Jonathan Brooks out, and with Quinn Ewers not at 100%,
he's got to be your guy.
You want that middle of the field option. You want that safety blanket or security blanket, whatever you're supposed to call him. And JT Sanders should be that guy. So I am begging, I am pleading with Steve Sarkisian and Kyle Flood and this offensive staff to find a way to get number 0 the ball a little bit, because Iowa State's secondary is great. They've got good corners, but their linebackers aren't all that great in coverage. No. If you get Sanders matched up against a linebacker in one-on-one, that's a matchup that JT should be winning 10 out of 10 times.
They've got to pay attention to the wide receivers.
Yep.
The secondary will have to pay attention, or they'll get burned by either of the 2 guys.
Yeah.
The 2 number 1s on this team.
That's so cool, having 2 number 1s. I'm going to miss those guys, man. We're obviously not spending much time talking about next year, but God, it's going to suck not having Worthy and Mitchell on this team, because they are difference makers, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
On the outside. And last week, once again, going up against a guy who's graded out as one of the best corners in the nation this year, and Josh Newton, Texas had all sorts of success through the air, especially with Xavier Worthy. So, I feel good about Quinn Ewers and X and AD, and I want to say JT and I want to say Jay Witt, but I feel like Texas is going to be able to have some success through the air. I think Quinn goes over 300 yards.
I do too.
Tonight. And I don't know if this is going to be a super high scoring game. We'll obviously give our score predictions right before we sign off at 6:30. I do wonder, though, kind of where your mind is at with this Texas offense. They had scored 30 in every game this season until last week. They scored 29 last week, so it's not like they were very far off. But the Longhorns were, I think, one of 4 teams left that had scored 30-plus in every game before last weekend. Now they're not in that category, but it sure feels like if they get to 30, they're going to win. I don't know if either team gets to 30 tonight, but if they get there, to me, that's a guaranteed W.
Yeah, with this defense, you should.
Yeah, and the way Iowa State plays, because they don't go fast, they don't go up tempo, they want to milk the clock. If Texas gets to 30, it's probably because they have some success with explosive plays.
Yes.
And they might have a takeaway or 2 to get them some short fields. If they do that, that's a win for sure, and you're flying home happy.
Yeah, I just think that they will win the turnover battle tonight. And once again, it's going to be, I think, this secondary that will study what's going on in this offense of Iowa State, and they're going to take some chances, to grab a couple picks. And I think the linebackers, I think Ford will do what he has to do. This seems like a kind of game for him, where he makes a lot of plays, or he forces a fumble, or he picks off the ball because he's reading the quarterback's eyes. But I think there'll be some big plays by the wide receivers in this game. And, anything you get out of the running backs from this point on is just a bonus. You know what I'm saying? Jaden Blue, you get a 25-yard run from him, that's bonus yards for those guys. Because I truly don't know what to expect. I know what to expect from the other guy. I expect for him to make you miss tackles inside without getting outside the tackles. If Jonathan Brooks was playing, I would expect that he would make those guys miss a lot of tackles. And especially with a 3-3 look, see you later. Double team some of those down linemen, and that guy's now into the linebacker area. I think you'll see these linebackers in this defense tonight, BK, take off and start backpedaling.
Be nice.
And try to get into the throwing lanes.
Yeah.
And you just got to make it work.
I think a lot of Longhorn fans have had some issues with Sark's opening script play calling. Now it's gotten better. Remember early in the year, it was like Texas was awful in the first half, and then they played well in the second half. And obviously it's kind of reversed where Texas has been great early and then they've fallen apart. But I think a lot of complaints that I've heard from Texas fans this year is like, why are you trying to pass to set up the run? Like, give the ball to Jonathan Brooks early in the game and then run to set up the pass to make life easier for Quinn Ewers. Tonight, I don't really feel that way. Tonight can be one of those pass to set up the run kind of games because, yeah, you don't know what you're going to get from your run game.
Yeah, if this group is backing up, if this secondary is starting to back up on the snap, go ahead and take those 8-yard passes. Take them. You know, if they're giving it to you, take it on first down. I don't care. It's not going to bother me as long as it's not quick screen to start.
Oh, right. The quick screen to Xavier Worthy.
No, I don't want that.
Yeah, Texas has done that a lot this year. I'm trying, and there's no way I'm going to be able to internet search this in enough time. I'm trying to find the least productive Texas rushing game that they've had this year. I'll just ask you this, Buck. Can the Longhorns win tonight if they rush for less than 100 yards?
I don't think so. I still think you have to rush for about 120, 130.
Okay.
If between all the runners, you can get to 130, you should win the game.
Yeah.
They can do enough in the air with it.
It's a scary thought if you don't.
But they're not winning if they've only rushed for 45, 50, 60 yards. That's asking an awful lot of a guy coming back with a shoulder, although he's got talented receivers. They're playing against the best secondary in the conference, and you're not showing that they're not worried about you running the ball at all, and they're just dropping in coverage. No.
Okay. I think Texas
That's why that guy who we've been mentioning, who we wonder why he never catches any passes, that's how important he will be. He's a part of the run game tonight.
He is. Yeah. I think Texas can win even if they don't get to 100 rushing yards, but obviously it gets a lot tougher if you become kind of one-dimensional. But I'm expecting a big Quinn Ewers performance, and hopefully we see good Quinn tonight. We know what he's capable of, and but yeah, I still think Texas is going to be able to run the ball okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think you as a runner, you know, you've got to understand if you didn't have such young running backs right now who understood and have seen a lot of the 3-3-5, you know what I'm saying? And they've had a lot of experience running against it.
Yeah.
And know where some of the cuts will be and where the weaknesses are in that defense. I think I'd feel a lot better, but this is all going to be new to them too. All of a sudden you're like, you only got 3 down linemen. I think I'll make this move. You start making the move mentally before it actually happens in front of you. You start thinking about the moves before it happens. So that's where the inexperience will come into play. And I don't think they're guys that make a lot of guys miss like Jonathan Brooks would.
No.
That guy just makes people miss.
No. Yeah. That's, once again, Jonathan Brooks, second in the country in forced missed tackles this year, behind only another Brooks, Taj Brooks, the kid at Texas Tech, who obviously the Longhorns will see this coming Friday. Before we get to Bucky's 3 keys to victory, did Auburn really lose to New Mexico State? Did that happen? Rob on the YouTube Clean Cause comment line says Auburn lost to New Mexico State. I don't know why he'd make that up, so I guess that did happen. Yikes.
Is that Gus Malzahn? Is that?
Not Gus Malzahn.
Who's
That's Hugh Freeze, year 1.
Oh, Hugh Freeze, year 1.
Who is having an okay year. 31-10.
Oh, they got beat down.
Oh, my God. By the Aggies? Is Jimbo coaching those Aggies?
Wow.
No, they wouldn't win the game.
They got beat down.
Yeah, boy. They play Alabama next week. So much for that being an interesting game.
Oh, man.
You lose at home by 3 tutties to New Mexico State.
Wow.
Well, someone comments they lost 27-7. What did you say it was, Brock? 31-10? I don't know who to believe anymore.
They lost.
And a question from Brock, who's here with us. UCLA is beating USC 38-20. Are they still going to fire Chip Kelly? How weird was that?
That was supposed to be.
Oh, it's over. Okay. It's not. Yeah, it's UCLA won 38-20. Are they still firing Chip Kelly? They just beat their biggest rival by 18.
No, he just saved his job.
I don't know. Can you come back from that?
Yeah,
a report that says he's getting fired after the USC game. Can you?
Kingsborough, you just saved your job.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That was bizarre. I was surprised that they had even thought about firing him, and now it would look pretty bad if they do it after.
You know, BK, when you said can they win this game with 60 yards of rushing, they're going to have to be some explosive plays in the passing game.
Yeah, if they do that, sure.
They're going to have to be some real. I mean, Xavier Worthy, J.D. Sanders is going to have to make a catch and run, the way he can run with the football. I think they're going to have to be some real explosive plays if you're not getting any explosive plays in your run game. I don't think 60 is enough.
Right. Yeah.
That's just not enough. That's not enough to keep the dogs off of your quarterback either, because they're not going to pay attention to the run.
No.
They're coming after the quarterback.
No, yeah, and when you try play action, it's not going to
Oh,
be
no,
super
they're not
effective.
going. Forget that.
Because they're not going to be biting on things. Once again, Iowa State's secondary has been very good this year, but they are prone to giving up big plays. Now,
Yes.
they are third in the country in interceptions per game, so that they can force some takeaways.
Sark likes big plays.
Which is scary. But, yeah, Sark likes big plays. Obviously, Quinn Ewers takes a lot of shots downfield.
Yeah.
Ewers did throw a pick last week. Of course, Whittington and Worthy made that tremendous hustle play to get the ball back for Texas, which was awesome. There's a culture play right there. But, yeah, like you run the risk of an interception or two if you're taking those shots down the field. But also, once again, Iowa State has given up a number of explosive passing plays this season, so you can't shy away from that. You've got to try to connect because against this defense, man, nickel and diming them is tough. You got to be smart. You don't want to be reckless, but man, putting together 8, 9, 10 play drives against a defense that's number one in this conference in total defense. That's a scary thought to try to expect to do that consistently. Yeah, can Texas have 1 or 2 long drives tonight? Sure, but you don't want to have to be relying on that throughout the course of 4 quarters. All right, Bucky, it is time for your 3 keys to victory brought to you by our friends at Hat Creek Burger Company. What you got tonight?
I've got protect the quarterback is my number one. That's always going to be first. Protect the quarterback, especially a guy coming off of injuries. Did a great job last week of protecting Quinn Ewers. The number one thing tonight is to protect him because they're still coming from him, whether it's late from the outside, whether it's in his throwing motion, because they understand if they get to the backup quarterback without the starting running back, it will be a problem for the University of Texas, period. Talent-wise or whatever, it'll be a problem if they knock this quarterback out. So you got to protect him first. Run till you can't. You know what I'm saying? If they let you run, if they're dropping guys in coverage and you got that 3-man front and this offensive line that should be able to take 3 guys against their 5 guys and mow them over, I don't care who the running back is, run it. And if you have to be and it doesn't have to be explosive plays. It can be grinded out because as you said, BK, I don't think this game is getting in the 30s by either team really. No. So run till you can and win the turnover battle by 2.
By 2?
By 2 tonight.
Crooked number.
Yep.
Okay.
Got to win the turnover battle by 2 tonight, I believe.
Is that realistic?
Yes, I believe it is.
Do you think Texas turns it over tonight?
I think they turn it over once.
So you're expecting 3 takeaways?
Yes.
Okay.
3 takeaways. Yes.
I would love it. Oh my God, I'm with you. If Texas wins the turnover margin by 2, they're going to win this game.
Yeah, I think I think they can win by 2. They need to win the turnover battle by 2 tonight for sure.
Okay.
But I mean, if a 3-man front, and I know that they play very well, and with the 3 linebackers, and one of those or 2 of those linebackers are going to be close to the line of scrimmage, or they're going to be backing up, getting into the zones for the pass. That's fine. You got to make them pay for the 3-man line. You just do.
They're smart though, man. I mean, Iowa State is 3rd in the conference in rush defense. So yeah, you hear 3-man front, and you're thinking, well, that means they must not do a good job.
And when I say the linebackers aren't there at 5 yards. Those dudes are up there like 3.5, 4 yards. But I think, particularly tonight, without Jonathan Brooks, they're not going to be standing at the line of scrimmage. They're going to be at 3 yards. They're going back to 5, BK, so they can get nice drops into your zones.
Maybe.
And find out that, that maybe you're thinking about throwing to Sanders too.
Yeah.
And Mitchell does the same thing. By the way, Mitchell runs tight end routes too.
Yeah.
He runs in the middle of the field and makes some really nice grabs. I mean, he's taken over where you thought the tight end, the grabs at the tight end maybe, should have more of. A.D. Mitchell gets those catches now.
Yeah, he does.
And he plays and he runs really nice routes in the middle of the field. And Quinn Ewers throws to him. And once again, as I said, he doesn't have to be that accurate because every ball that kid gets his hands on, he makes a catch.
Yeah, I like your second key, though. Run until you can't. Right?
Yeah, run. Yeah.
If you're right, and Iowa State drops its linebackers a little bit deeper because Jonathan Brooks isn't healthy, then make them pay. And then, okay, you make them pay, then they adjust, then you can hit them over the top.
Yeah, and, I may underestimate the young runner. I've just not seen enough of him. I mean, he was one of the best runners in the nation as a high school player. He's not a little kid. He's a big grown-up man, almost 225. He's a big dude. He can fall forward. He does have nice body lean, as you've seen.
Yeah.
After getting his bell rocked a couple of times early, in the beginning of the season, he understands a little bit more about the run game. But he needs to punish guys for tackling him.
Yeah.
220-some pounds now.
218. You're making him fatter by the minute here.
Okay.
He was close to 220 earlier. Now he's close to 225. What did he have for lunch today?
Okay, 6'2", 6'1.5", almost 6'2". Make them pay for tackling you tonight.
Seeing 6'1", 218. He's doing the
6'1" and change.
The Kyler.
They put him on the stretcher.
Stretches.
They put him on the stretcher. He's got to punish the guys for tackling him now.
Well, they got to get old quick, right?
Yes.
It's 2 underclassmen with C.J. Baxter and Jaden Blue. And I know you were talking about Baxter, but I'll throw Blue in there.
Yes.
They've got to mature very quickly, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, Blue
they can't look like inexperienced freshmen.
Oh no!
Tonight they've got to look like. Look, it's not going to be as good as Jonathan Brooks, but they've got to look like legit P5 running backs.
Right, absolutely.
They've got to keep Iowa State's defense honest, and by doing that, you can lead this team to victory. So,
yeah, but like you said, this team understands how to play their defense, and these 2 young running backs haven't seen a lot of that look. So,
wow,
because they don't have a lot of experience and a lot of carries against this type of defense, and they may visually see one thing, but it may not be there. You know, they're going to have to figure this out on the fly tonight.
Yep. Bucky's 3 keys to victory, brought to you by our friends at Hat Creek Burger Company.
Oh, love Hat Creek.
Love Hat Creek. 26 locations now across the great state of Texas. Of course, they're all over Austin, but they've got them in Dallas and Houston and San Antonio and Temple and Waco. So if you're making that drive up from Austin to Dallas for Thanksgiving or something like that, he could get you some in Temple or Waco. You can stop in Temple and Waco and get you some Hat Creek. The burgers, the fries, the shakes, all spectacular. They've been getting it done here for almost 20 years now. Well, I guess I just said they're celebrating 15 years, so I'm rounding way up. I'm pulling a you.
Oh, you're trying to pull a me?
I'm literally pulling a you. I just criticized you for adding too much to something.
You're only adding 5, that's all.
So we know Hat Creek's going to make it 20 years.
Absolutely.
And they still have that queso too.
The queso on the burger?
On the burger, or you could get it on the side and dip your
the
burger in there.
You actually dip the whole burger in there?
That's as American as it gets right there,
wow.
Baby. Yeah, we love that stuff. Shout out to our friends at Hat Creek Burger Company. They bring you Bucky's 3 keys to victory every single week. And I wasn't planning on doing another scoreboard update, but developing story from Tallahassee. North Alabama is beating Florida State 13-0 right now. And apparently Jordan Travis just got injured and they had to bring the stretcher out for him.
Really?
That's the Heisman candidate quarterback for Florida State. So it's gone from bad to worse with FSU. Scary scene. I mean, obviously you're rooting against Florida State, but you're not ever rooting for injury. Jordan Travis, I'm not watching this right now, but I'm just relying on our Clean Cause YouTube comment line. Apparently, Jordan Travis is down. And
on a stretcher?
Yeah, I do know for sure that Florida State is down 13-0 to 3-7 FCS North Alabama.
I didn't hear of North Alabama. I know South Alabama.
Right, yeah, I didn't know what that was until this year, and they beat Oklahoma State. Now North Alabama is trying to beat Florida State. So, apparently a long delay in that game at FSU right now. That's a scary scene right there. So wishing the best for Jordan Travis, but, hoping Florida State loses today. That would be that.
What do you think
awesome.
of the for the first key, BK, protect the quarterback? They're still coming after him, right? They understand he's got the shoulder. He's just coming off of the injury.
Yeah.
They can watch the film. I think you can see where later in the game the throws didn't have quite as much zip on it. I mean, that's just, shoulder fatigue. I mean, you're tired. It's your first game thrown at that kind of velocity.
And it's cold, like you said.
Oh, and you're coming out after halftime.
Yeah.
And sitting around and then all of a sudden asked to throw the ball again.
Seeing the forecast, it's supposed to be around 50 at kickoff, but it will dip into the mid to low 40s by the end of this game. So not a lot of wind, which is good, and no rain.
Throw often if you have to.
Yeah, well, not a lot of wind, which obviously impacts your ability to throw, and a 0% chance of rain. Obviously, that impacts your ability to throw. So, that'd be a scarier proposition for Texas if it was a muddy, rainy, windy, cold night. To where
dark,
and dark, where you weren't going to be able to throw the football, and you're playing without your number one running back. That would have been tough. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be a little chilly, but it doesn't seem like weather's going to be much of a factor.
It's good football weather.
Yeah, which is it good football weather?
It will be. Yeah,
I feel like what we have.
You say the word 50s and 40s. That's okay.
What about like what we have in Austin right now? I feel like this is good football weather. 70s.
No,
what's wrong with 70s?
It's hot. It's still warm and humid here. There, it's nice. You get your sweat going. You get warmed up. You're ready to go. You can go in at halftime, still feel all right.
You would rather play in 70s than 40s and 50s?
I would rather play in 50s than any of them.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
At any time.
All right.
I'm not saying I'd rather be on the sideline coaching in the 50s and 40s. Hated that.
I've just never understood why like 20s and 30s is described as football weather.
That's not football
Like,
weather.
You literally ask any football player ever, and they're like, no, I don't want to play in that shit. Thank you.
That's skiing. That's weather for skiing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Ice fishing.
This time of year, I'd rather be watching a game in 70 degrees. The players would be rather playing in 50, 60,
50s
70
is nice.
degrees.
50s and 60s are nice.
I don't need 20 or 30 degrees. I'm good on that deal. All right, we've got about 6 minutes left. Shout out to all of you commenting today. We've had a great response today on YouTube and on the free Texas Sports Unfiltered app. Please give this video a thumbs up. I don't think we've asked for that today, but if y'all would be so kind, like this video. It helps our channel grow. We're very proud of what we've been able to pull off so far with Texas Sports Unfiltered, and obviously we're not going anywhere anytime soon. So thank you all for being part of our very first football season. We appreciate the continued support, but please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Make sure you download the free Texas Sports Unfiltered app.
Please do. And if you happen to be in the Hutto area this weekend, head on over to Academy Sports and Outdoors in Hutto.
Yep, we were out
big
there.
Grand opening.
Yep, we were there on Thursday. It was awesome.
They're still rocking 20%, aren't they, through the weekend?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, they got you covered. And of course, shout out to our friends at Covert Bee Cave.
Yes, of course.
This will be our final pregame show out at the Covert Bee Cave Studios. We're still doing a pregame show for next week, and we'll let y'all know where we're going to be on Friday for the Black Friday game.
We will be somewhere on Friday
against Texas Tech. We will be somewhere on Friday. We'll keep y'all posted with that. But thanks to Covert BK for having us out. They've been a tremendous, tremendous partner for us pretty much since day one. So we're grateful for them. All right. How about what you got, Brock?
I just saw that Jordan Travis injury.
Yeah.
It's one of those where it like makes you want to vomit.
Oh.
It's like a Kevin Ware.
Like a leg injury?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It was bad. Like his leg, like
wrong direction.
Turned around backwards.
That explains why they had to bring the stretcher out for Jordan Travis. I feel for the kid. The ambulance on the field too. God bless. He's had a tremendous season. Florida State obviously having a tremendous season. What a brutal way for things to fall apart there in Tallahassee. My goodness, wishing the best for the young man. All right, we've got 4 minutes left, Buck. Let's end this thing like we always do with our score prediction brought to you by our great friends over at Paul's Motor Works. More about them in a moment, but I will give you the honors first. Texas at Iowa State, the Longhorns, a 7-point favorite. The over-under is at 44.5 as we look just over 30 minutes away from kickoff. What say you? What happens at Jack Trice tonight?
I think the Texas Longhorns win 27-17.
Okay, a 10-point win for Texas.
Yes.
And the under barely hits by half a point.
This is not a big unit play because I don't do unit plays on Texas football.
Okay.
I would not do that to either side.
No, you should never bet on Texas football.
No, but I think Texas has enough firepower without Jonathan Brooks to score 27 points tonight. I think there'll be some explosive plays by this Longhorns wide receiver group. And I still expect the young running back. I expect C.J. Baxter to have a nice long run too because, as I said, when he gets open and he finds his way open, you can't catch him. He's got real speed. So, I expect him to have a long touchdown run.
Yeah.
But I think they can score 27 points.
Okay.
And if they score in the 30s, they should win if they score 27 or more points.
I agree. Yeah. If they get to 27, they should win this one as well. And you brought up C.J. Baxter. Yeah. Had that long 50-something yard run against K-State a couple of weeks ago. Let me ask you this, a follow-up before we get Brock's score prediction. Is this a game where Texas gets out to a big lead and they have to hold on at the end, or is this just Texas is kind of in control and they win by 10?
I think this is one of those kind of slugfest games where you don't go into halftime winning by 2 touchdowns. You go in and you could be up a field goal. You could be up by a field goal, but you come out and I think your talent just outweighs the talent of Iowa State.
Okay.
It's just a good football. I see a good football game that Texas, the talent just outweighs the magic that's going on with no lights and senior night at Iowa State. Just too much talent at Texas.
Yeah. All right, Brock, what say you? What's your prediction for tonight's game?
I think they're going to win 31-24, but they're going to be up 28-7.
Wow. All right. Brock says Texas wins 31-24.
Another one of those kind of games.
But we're going to be holding on for dear life after a blown lead. Brock says it will be 28-7 at one point, and Texas will hold on, but they will win, and they'll push, I guess, if you've got them winning by 7. That is the over right there. I'm going to go Texas. God, I felt so good about Texas winning and covering. And then I saw Jeff Howe's pick. Jeff Howe is 0-10 picking Texas games against the spread this year. That is awesome, but it's also terrible. But it's awesome how terrible it is. He's got Texas winning by 13, which means a cover. So I feel like I should go the other way. Yeah, I'm going to go the other way.
Yeah, hell yeah,
Only
go the
because
other
of
way.
Jeff Howe.
Yes.
I'm going to say Texas wins this one. We'll go 26-21.
There you go.
So a 5-point win for the Longhorns. I really feel better about this game than that. And if you've listened to me all week long, you're probably surprised that I'm only pegging this as a 5-point victory. But literally because Jeff Howe has no idea what he's talking about this year picking Texas games. He has talked me into taking Iowa State +7.
Well, what he's done is he's added in that Xavier Worthy punt return to the house.
That's what you've done, or that's what he's done?
Yes.
That's what he's done. That's what both of you have done.
Yes.
I like it. All right. The score prediction is brought to you by our great friends at Paul's Motor Works. Love the team over there at Paul's.
Yes, I do.
You and I have both been there over the last couple of weeks.
Yes, I have.
They can handle any sort of car repair you need, especially if you've got one of those luxury brands. If you've got a BMW or a Mercedes or a Porsche or an Audi,
yes.
yeah, they can handle all of that. But honestly, if any car is messed up, they'll fix it.
Well, they handle my Subaru.
They got your Subaru.
Yeah.
Your
A little Outback. They loved it.
you know what they call Subarus?
No.
Lesbian cars.
Really?
Yep. So your little lesbian whip.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Who's they? I don't know the people out there. That's just what
those
I've heard.
people?
Don't shoot the messenger, man.
Those people?
Yeah, the streets are saying
So they're
Subarus.
sitting out on the streets?
Yeah, that's who drives Subarus these days.
Very nice.
I don't know. I can't confirm nor deny. But hey, if you need an oil change, like I take my Nissan there to get the oil changed. They've got you. They've been around since 2000, 22, and 620. Fantastic people, big Longhorn fans. They are the absolute best, and they will take care of your car. Tough to find a reliable car mechanic anywhere.
Yes.
Paul's Motor Works, they take the toughness out
And
of
there's
it.
nobody taking advantage of you over there. Believe me, they're going to give you the best deal they can give you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. This was fun, fellas. Great show today.
Loved it.
Loved it. Shout out to young Brock, our on-site engineer here at Covert Bee Cave. Another shout out to Covert Bee Cave and all of our great sponsors of our pregame show. A reminder, post-game, right after the game with Trey Elling and Kevin Dunn right here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. But that is going to do it for the TSU pregame show. Bucky and I will be back Monday at 8 o'clock, of course, to talk all about Texas and Iowa State. For Brock, for Bucky, I am BK. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see y'all on Monday. Until then, hook 'em.
Welcome.